Hello everyone, and welcome to the final round of the 2024 GPVWC Superleague Championship. As you can see, we are at a rainy Sao Paulo in Brazil, which is quite something. If you saw the Grand Prix just last weekend, you will know that this can cause a little bit of a shake-up, and I'm sure there will be people rubbing their hands together at the sight of this. And I, for one, am very much excited to see how this plays in to the championship fight. I'm being joined by Ed Hunter. And Ed, the Drivers' Championship may already be wrapped up, but the Teams' Championship is the one that everyone will be focusing on now, and that is just as important.
It certainly is, not just in terms of pride and place in the pit lane for next season, but also for THR in particular. It's important because they won it the previous season as well, and they're looking to retain that title despite losing the Drivers' Championship, of course, to Jan Grankvist, who, of course, wrapped it up a couple of races ago in Singapore after some incredible performances. 6 victories total, I think, so far this season, looking for win number 7 after missing out to Tom Stevens in the THR at Circuit of the Americas last time out. But yes, for Super Venturi, they're looking to try and win both titles, but they've got a tough job. 23 points the gap going into this one, with THR on 380 and Super Venturi on 357. They're the only two that can win it, with TOP and Edge just a few too many points, a couple of 100 points too far back, I think, to be in contention. But yes, certainly it's 4 drivers that really all the focus is going to be on. Grankvist and Lalu in the Super Venturis, and Stevens and Maguire in the THRs. And look how slippery it is. We're in for a very, very hectic qualifying here, as everyone is going to be desperate to get a clean lap in.
Yes, indeed. We do have a few headlines before we get into this race. Obviously, the Teams Championship is the one that we're going to be focusing on today, but we do also have a fight for second in the Drivers' Championship still to be decided. Tom Stevens currently holds that position by 19 points over Mark Schluter, but there are 25 points for a win, plus an extra bonus point for fastest lap, so that one is still technically up for grabs, and if Steven has a tough day, then that one could still go the way of Mark Schluter. As well as that, we have been told leading up to this race that this is unfortunately going to be the last race in Super League for Pescara ADG. That is the team Pescara ADG. I was told this by Menno Klont before the race, and unfortunately it appears to be a relatively certain thing that Eros Masculi's team will no longer be in the GPWC field come 2025, which is a bit of a shame. That's a team who has been with us for 3 seasons in Super League now, but they emerged in GPWC in 2020 in Formula Sprint 1. They had a very rapid ascent up the career ladder, going from FS1, winning that, going to Super Lights, winning that, and then of course emerging onto the scene in Super League in 2022, but unfortunately haven't had quite the success that they would have liked in Super League, with a best result of 8th position, which was all the way back in, 6th position, which was all the way back in just their 4th Super League race at the 2022 Portuguese Grand Prix. And unfortunately, they've decided to pull the plug on that operation. So we will no longer have Pescara ADG with us come 2025. They are, however, sporting 2 rookies for the final round of the championship, 2 drivers making their debuts in GPVWC Super League, which is very, very interesting. And we have quite a few debutant drivers on the grid today. In fact, 6 as far as I can count, which is unbelievable considering we're 16 rounds into this championship. So let's talk through some of them. Obviously, since we are on the topic of Pescara ADG, let's introduce Lucas Stylen, who is going to be starting one of those cars. He was 7th in this year's Formula Sprint 1 championship with 3 wins under his belt. And there he is in that beautiful Pescara ADG car, currently lapping, a little bit slidey through the first couple of corners, but he is making his GPWC Super League debut today. He also has a victory in Formula Sprint 2 and another victory in the Academy Series, which came back at the Turkish Grand Prix this year, and 1 start in Super Lights under his belt as well.
FS2 win, by the way, Caitlin, came right here at Interlagos a year ago. As we look at Khrushchevin coming into the pits with no front wings, just as we're about to talk about him. So not a little bit embarrassing for the Ukrainian driver there.
Okay, well, thank you for bringing that up, that he got his Formula Sprint 2
win. It was in wet
win
conditions too, as well.
Right here. Okay, so that's something to look forward to. The other Pescara ADG driver today is, of course, Dominic Khrushchevin, who we have just brought up. Dominic is another brand new rookie, one of 6. He has driven in Super Lights. He did Super Lights the last 2 seasons, including this year where he was 13th overall with a best result of 4th. And amazingly, he is the first Ukrainian Super League driver since Vitaly Kambarov made his last start in 2007. I'm sure barely anyone here remembers Vitaly Kambarov, but he did actually win that year's Malaysian Grand Prix. So there is an omen for us to look out for Dominic Khrushchevin. And I do like his helmet because it has a very poignant message on the side, which is no war, with the colors of the Ukrainian flag. So good luck to Dominic Khrushchevin and Lucas Stylen making their debuts for Pescara ADG. We also have an unexpected return for TX3, that is Virtual Drivers by TX3, who have been absent from the championship for the last few rounds. They are also fielding 2 brand new drivers for the last round of this championship, clearly not really caring about the championship anymore, and just fielding these 2 rookies for the last round. One of whom is Vin Glenn, who has not actually made a start in GPWC at all. This is a Green Stripes car. My apologies. I thought this was a TX3, but Vin Glenn is actually making his debut for Green Stripes Racing.
And I should point out, Caitlin, Vin Glenn has been subbing in. He did Academy at Interlagos. He did Super Lights on Tuesday as well. Well, unfortunately, I don't think he quite finished in the top 10 in the wet there. So he has made a couple of starts, but you're right. He's a very, very recent joiner to the GPV ladder.
Okay, that's interesting, because on his profile page on the GPVWC website, that hasn't been updated yet, but I guess that's just a sign of how fresh he is to the championship. Sorry,
he was 10th in Super Lights on Tuesday, so...
10th place, okay, not bad at all. Let's find who is actually driving for TX3. We have Ben Skinner, who is one of those drivers. Ben Skinner, who has he raced in the USA round of Formula Sprint 1 this year. He's also been racing in Formula Sprint 2 and the Academy Series, where he got a win in San Marino, by the look of it. And alongside Ben Skinner, we have Lucas Thielen. Let me just double check that he is actually. Nope, Thielen is. I've already brought him up. The other. Brody Lawless, there we go. I knew it was someone else from the Formula Sprint 1 ladder. Brody Lawless, who has done 3 rounds of Formula Sprint 1 this year, racing for Volpino Racing and Hyperion Esports. He's also been doing Formula Sprint 2 with a podium in Brazil, and he's also got 3 victories in the Academy Series, so look out for him. Oh, and he finished 5th in the Brazilian Super Lights race not too long ago. Very, very nice. I will close Lucas Thielen's page so I don't accidentally talk about him again. Yes, so Brody Lawless, welcome in to him. Welcome to Vin Glenn. And then also we have a debut, yes, another one, that is 6 in total if you're keeping count. And the other one is Jan Sakura, who will be racing for Epic Racing today. He has been doing Super Lights this year, and he actually came 3rd in the Super Lights race in Brazil just 2 days ago. So look out for Jan Sakura. And best of luck to our 6 debutants in GPVWC Super League today. I'm very sorry that you haven't been able to get a word in edgeways, Ed. We've had a lot to talk about in terms of headlines, but we've got an exciting race ahead of us today. Mark Schluter currently on a quick lap, heading for an improvement in this qualifying session.
Yeah, Mark should be very, very quick in that first sector, of course, but we've got 6 drivers will almost have in we got Tom Stevens 2.5 tenths clear of Schluter, and Stevens is going even quicker in the middle sector at the present moment, 41.0. So he's really flying out there. All of the top 4 on the full wets, but Jarl Tyen, Carlos Martin, and Thomas Vack, and Jan Sakura, it must be said, all hanging it out on the intermediate tyres as Stevens goes even quicker. That's a 117.8. That puts him nearly half a second clear of Schluter, but Mark Schluter, the German, coming towards the line now, and he gets back into second place. Now just under 3 tenths behind Tom Stevens there. So that quick first sector allowing him to fight back. But the last 2 sectors very much belong to Tom Stevens at the present moment. But Tyen on the Inters very briefly got ahead of Mark Schluter. So even as the rain continues to fall down, some of the drivers are getting the Inters to work, in particular the Norwegian Jarl Tyen and the Nocturne.
Indeed, and I'm very interested to see that it is completely viable to be on either compound of tyre. We're in that awkward crossover period where it's not quite wet enough to be full wets and not quite dry enough to be inters, and you can see Jarl Tyen understeering his way through Bico de Pato. He does have a purple first sector. He's heading down now towards Junsao, which is a very tricky corner in wet. It's off camber. The water runs down the hill, and you can lose control there very, very easily indeed. Oh, goodness me, that was a huge twitch from Jarl Tyen, and he will come into the pits now. Jarl, who has not driven at every round of this championship, he would have wanted to, but he sometimes works on Thursdays, which is why he hasn't been able to launch a title assault. Now we look at Robin Panzer, Ed, one of the standout drivers of the season, despite the fact he's yet to win a race.
Of course, he did win the Belgian Grand Prix last year, Robin Panzer. Adonis having a pretty strong season as he gets up to 4th on the grid as Robin Panzer with a 118.3. So reminder, Panzer is in the Drivers' Championship is 5th, just behind Adam Maguire by about 10 points or so. Actually, slightly more than 10 points. It's more like 17 or 7 points or so. But in the Teams Championship, Adonis are on 217, which is about 8 points behind Edge Esports. So it's still pretty close in that fight for 4th, much closer than the actual fight for the lead in the Teams Championship between THR and Super Venturi, which, as we said before, 23 points is the gap there. So Panzer and Schluter are sort of the 2 standouts for their respective teams, and whoever comes out on top here could well have a big influence in who finishes ahead in that 4th place in the team's table, of course. But yes, in terms of lap times on track, it's definitely, and we see Stevens and Schluter are both switching to the Inters, so they are following the lead of Jarl Tyen.
Yep. I must breathe a sigh of relief now. We didn't see Jan Grankvist on the server, but he is now in. So we have a full house of 30 drivers for the first time in at least 6 rounds here in GPWC Super League, and that is fantastic to see. Meanwhile, we were talking about THR, and as we were mentioning their times, Adam Maguire went second in the order, meaning THR have a 1-2 as it stands, and that would be absolutely crucial for the team's championship if they were to finish where they are now. And I'm sure, and look at that, one of them on the inters, the other one on the wets. They really cannot make their mind up in these conditions, but it doesn't seem to matter that much. Meanwhile, Omagorgi goes up to 6th position. The rain, I think, is clearing slightly. It's still coming down, but it's very light, and I think the track might actually be getting better, especially because we're seeing these faster times coming in. And this is interesting because it means that the end of the session, just like always, will be the crunch time, as we call it. But sometimes you don't see that in the wet. Sometimes it's anticlimactic because it rains harder, and then the start of the session is what ends up mattering. Here comes Yartayaned.
Yeah, we actually saw this in a bizarre situation in the Superlights race at Spa, where I was commentating with Ross earlier this year, where basically the dry line emerged quite quickly, even though it was still sort of technically drizzling down, as Yartayan goes third fastest, displaces Mark Schluter, then for third on the grid, as he just tucks it into that first corner, as Stevens and Maguire both in the pits with 2.5 minutes left to go. So as we say, it's getting closer and closer to crunch time, and Jan Grankvist is leaving it rather late. Could Jan be doing his last to first challenge? Do him and Lalu think the team's championship's a bit of a long shot? So Jan is just going to have some fun in sort of mixed wet conditions, essentially. That could well be what we're in for, a big show from our world champion there, as we now look at Matthew Williams down in 15th, the last points paying position. Zortax could do with a couple of good points finishes to end their season, of course. In 11th on 65 points. They're sort of in no man's land, about 15 behind RSR. So for Ryan Elliott's sake, he was supposed to be commentating today, so the poor guy, the horrible luck he's had this season, he really wouldn't want to lose out to Zortax in the final round. But Matthew Williams will be very, very determined to make that happen. He's ahead of Stepkowski. Can he get ahead of Vac as well?
And I tell you what, Jan Grankvist has got to get out of the pit soon if he's going to set a time at all in this session. You may be right. He has hinted to us in the past that he might do a last to first challenge. But the trouble with this is that this is going to cost them the team's championship. I mean, it was already a long shot with THR doing so well and being so competitive at this round. But we have seen double retirements for teams in the past this year. But oh goodness! And into the wall goes Robin Panzer, so that will be the end of his session. But Jan Grankvist is not going to exit the pit. He is still in the pit lane with less than a lap's worth of time left on the clock. And that means that our champion of this season will have to start from the very back of the grid. And whether that is deliberate or not, we are unsure. But anyway, there's Zolt Schukes going up to 23rd. We're in the last minute of the qualifying session, so this is what really matters. This is when the fastest lap time should theoretically be set. So we're watching the clock now to see who will improve. Here comes Moritz Kropp in the Nocturne. He's currently only 24th in this particular session, but looks to be on a slight improvement. Up to the line he goes. Top 15 maybe? 17th, nearly does it, but just a couple of thousandths of a second off. And that's the trouble with this circuit. It's a very short one, so the lap times will all look very, very close. And Adam Maguire, who's only a 1/10 of a second off of his teammates so far, is improving in the first sector, sets a personal best. He's heading through the middle part of the course, a little bit twitchy, but you expect that in these conditions. Through the Bico de Pato, the Duck's Bill, as it's called in Portuguese. And now down through the long left-hander towards Junsao. Still a bit twitchy, and he's very far down in the second sector. That's not good at all. Adam Maguire will not improve on this lap time. And that means that Tom Stevens should have this pole position sewn up. I wonder if the rain is coming down a bit heavier now. Mark Schluter still has an opportunity, actually. He's improving on the lead time in the first sector. Not a personal best, though. Coming through the second sector, I tell you what, Sergio Fletcher has well, Fletcher's just moved up to 9th place. He actually set the fastest third sector of all on that lap. Schluter 2/10 off in the second sector and comes into the pits, and that will be it for the top times. Tom Stevens might be about to put it even further out of reach now. Comes up to the line, does improve, 117.744. And in these conditions, that is very impressive indeed. And that will be pole position. I don't see anyone else still out there who can even get close to that. Carlos Martin went 7th. Martin went 6th. Owen Magorgi went 7th. Fournier Domrutzim goes 7th. Tell you what though, fastest first sector rule was just set by Stein Handgraf. Handgraf still out there. We're going to pay attention to that. Well, it said it was the fastest first sector rule, but I think that may have been a mistake because it's now showing us 2.5 tenths of a second down. I'll keep an eye on it just in case.
He was a tenth slower than Martin in the first sector, who's 6th. So I think whilst Handgraf is doing a pretty solid job on that green stripes, he always seems to do quite well in the wet, doesn't he? Remember, he was fighting for the top 10 in Hockenheim in those quite tricky conditions there when the rain poured down. So, Handgraf is pretty careful on that throttle
pedal.
Comes
into the pits.
Yeah, there we go. 7 tenths down in the middle sector, that scuppered that lap there. But yeah, Tom Stevens, when he said he loved Interlagos, he certainly wasn't lying. Come rain or come shine, he really wanted to be on top. And him and THR have thrown absolutely everything at this. And the reward is they've locked out the front row while Jan Grankvist is committed to trying to do a Max Verstappen, isn't he? He's starting going from last to first in the pouring rain.
Well, there you go. Tom Stevens and Adam Maguire lock out the front row of the grid for THR on what may be a victory tour for that particular team. Jarl Tyen is 3rd, and he's from the same squad as THR, as they are sister teams, so they're very, very happy with this performance. Mark Schluter 4th. He could still take 2nd in the championship, but only if Tom Stevens has a bad race. Robin Panzer is 5th. Carlos Martin is 6th. Jeffrey Fournier is 7th. He actually picked up a time penalty after the last race. We'll talk about that in a bit. Owen Magorgi is 8th. Jukka-Pekka Lalu is 9th, a top 10 qualifying position for Super Venturi. That's better than he usually does, so a good performance there from JP Lalu. Heigo Poom P10, very good job in the AKA Hero car. Sergio Fletcher P11, then it's Chris Shepherd, Alex Laho, Dylan Fisher, Stein Handgraf, Tomasz Vuk, Matthew Williams. Vin Glenn is the top debutant there in 18th position. Good job from him. Moritz Kropp P19. Jan Sakura, another debutant in the Epic Racing Team car. Then we have Daniel Stepkowski, Philip Pushke, former champion, Pascal Pollens, Brody Lawless, another rookie, Zolt Schukes, Lucas Thylin, and Dominic Kurashavin in what could and probably will be Pescara ADG's last race in GPWC. They will start 26th and 27th. Ben Skinner, the last driver to set a lap time, and what a fantastic sight it is to see a full house of drivers with TH3 back in the series. And then rounding out the grid will be Justin van der Smissen and Jan Grankvist, who did not set lap times. So if Jan Grankvist is indeed going to start from the back of the grid, he has a lot of work to be done. And it makes you wonder whether Super Venturi have given up on that team's championship. But a fascinating qualifying session. THR will be over the moon. Super Venturi have it all to do. But it's wet. It's GPWC Super League. Goodness me, they're all crowding to get out onto the track in the warm-up session. And anything could still happen here, Ed.
Indeed it could. So we may have to look at the weather radar for Interlagos during the course of this race to see where the showers are and if they're going to continue to hit the circuit or if we've got dry weather coming as the race continues. But yeah, certainly, like you say, ideal for THR. Grankvist, I think he's determined just to have some fun out there. Remember how much fun he had when the rain fell at Hockenheim, where he made, of course, that brilliant double move on, was it lap 46 or 47 of that race, on both Dylan Fisher and Robin Panzer while they were fighting each other. Jan just went up the inside, made that double move. Maguire passed him, and then he went around the outside of Maguire at the hairpin as well. It was absolutely fantastic stuff. And clearly he likes these sort of rain conditions. But of course, the Interlagos, the self-proclaimed, it must be said, Interlagos master is very much Tom Stevens on pole position, of course. And then we got the likes of Mark Schluter, who's got, like I said, mainly his focus is going to be on Teams Championship, beating Robin Panzer, but Schluter has a very, very slim chance if he can win this race of beating Tom Stevens in the drivers. as well. So THR, they certainly can't get complacent despite locking out the front row. There are all sorts of challenges that could come from behind, and I think first of which to watch out for, despite the fact that he's 30th and last, is very much Jan Grankvist. I think Jan, from a last to first challenge perspective, is going to be very happy he's got 29 drivers to fight against, because it means he's got to pass each and every one. And I think Jan is never happier than when he's either leading out front by miles or he's got loads of people that he knows he can beat. So from his perspective, at least anyway, I'm sure some of the other drivers will think differently over the course of the race when they see Jan coming up behind them in his Super Venturi.
Indeed. Well, Jan actually hasn't won a race since Germany. That was 5-6 rounds ago now.
He's come close a few times, though.
He has. He was second in Belgium. He was second last time out at the United States Grand Prix. There was a slight tweak to the order after the US Grand Prix, because Jeffrey Fournier, who we saw causing a couple of collisions, especially on the last lap of the race, was given 3 different 5-second penalties, which demoted him from 5th position in the race to 10th position in the race. So that promotes Carlos Martin in particular, as well as everyone else who was around him. And if the person who has access to the Google Docs spreadsheet is listening to this, that hasn't actually been updated yet. So we could do with someone getting on that, if that's okay, just to ease the confusion in looking at the results. But it's up to date on the website, I think. So if you are a member of the audience looking on and checking the website for the standings, I believe that's accurate. It certainly is as far as penalties from the last race are concerned. There's also a little bit of controversy about collisions occurring after the race was finished. Some drivers getting a little bit over exuberant, maybe a little bit of red mist falling and coming to blows after they'd already crossed the finish line. You're not allowed to do that. But because these were all first-time offenders, only warnings were given out rather than penalties, but they do need to make sure that they can control their emotions and make sure that that doesn't happen again. Let's talk about the standings coming into this one. Jan Grankvist, of course, has already wrapped up the Drivers' Championship. He is a winner 5 times over this year. He won 3 races in a row earlier on this year: Saudi Arabia, Japan and China, and then 2 races back-to-back in Great Britain and Germany. Then we have that fight for second in the championship between Tom Stevens and Mark Schluter. 19 points separate them. Tom Stevens has 3 wins under his belt: Spain, Belgium and USA. And Mark Schluter has 2 wins. That was San Marino and Austria. Adam Maguire is 4th in the championship. He won in Singapore. And Robin Pansar could still claim 4th in the championship if he has a really good race yet today. He is the top driver yet to win a race. This season, that is. As you correctly pointed out, he did win last year in Belgium. But Pansar's best result of the year was actually 2nd at the British Grand Prix. Carlos Martin is 6th in the championship, having won in Canada. Jarl Tyen is 7th in the championship, having won in Italy. Owen McGorgy is 8th in the championship, having won in Australia and Azerbaijan. Matthias Moos is 9th in the championship, but is not on track today. And then Jukka-Pekka Laulu is 10th in the championship, the 2nd Super Venturi car. Then, of course, in the Teams Championship, we usually read out the top 5. THR is leading that by 23 points over Super Venturi, but with Jan Grankvist starting from the back and the THR starting from the front row of the grid, it would take a downright miracle for Super Venturi to snatch the championship away from them in this particular occasion. Maybe next year, though. I very much hope that all of these contenders come back again next year and compete for the crown or defend the crown if they are indeed going to win it this year. TOP Esports are fighting with Edge Esports and Adonis Engineering for 3rd in the Teams Championship. That one could still go any one of 3 ways, as there's only 30 points separating all 3 of those teams. And of course, each of them have 2 drivers, with 26 points being the maximum that one driver can score. So that's very much up in the air. Any one of those 3 teams could do it, although TOP has the advantage with 20 points over Edge Esports and then another 10 points over Adonis Engineering. so that's how that all stands. Of course, we still have one more race this season, which is about to get underway in just over 3.5 minutes time. And I am very much looking forward to seeing how the standings look after this one. I'm very much hoping that... oh, look at that. We've got a special livery for TOP Esports. I wonder... I haven't been told about that, actually. Sometimes the teams, if they want their special liveries to be highlighted, they come into our DMs and they tell us what the special liveries are all about and what they're supporting. We haven't actually been told anything about TOP Esports. Annoyingly, it's looking quite a lot like an Edge Esports car, so hopefully we don't get too distracted by that. But yeah, little special livery on the side of Carlos Martin's car there. Do you know anything about that, Ed?
This is the first I'm seeing of it as well. It looks a little bit like... I remember they used a unique livery. It just says alternate on the side, so I guess that's a hint that it's a sort of alternate livery that whoever the livery maker is at Netrex and TOP had this one in the bag, really wanted to use it. Carlos and Owen and Stefan all sort of said, now we don't want to be caught driving in that, so they saved it for the final round in the season. But it looks somewhat interesting. There's a little bit of a similarity to Edge in terms of they got mostly dark with white side pods and a little white bit on the nose as well. But yeah, I think...
Sorry. Vincent Gutt says it's a little bit of an inside joke between Super Venturi and TOP, where TOP is running the Super Venturi livery with TOP colours, Super Venturi is running the TOP livery with Super Venturi colours. Could we see the Super Venturi car? See what you're talking about there?
Just invert the brightness on your picture and you're already looking at the Super Venturi.
That's true. Could we take a look at who's on track now? Where's Jan? Well, Jan's in the pits. What about
Lali's
up there? Yeah, let's take a look at Yuckbecker if we can, Vince. And at least then we'll know what car we're looking for when the race gets going. Here comes the Super Venturi. Yeah,
alternate on the side.
You can see, alternate livery. Okay, so there has been a little bit of a swap there between Super Venturi and TOP. See, I barely noticed with the Super Venturi because the colours, I mean, it's such a distinctive shade of blue that it still looks like a Super Venturi, you know?
Well, also it's blue and it's dark blue and black, which they kind of blend into one. It's a very neat looking livery, the Super Venturi this season. And they've still got those lovely wheel rims that they introduced from Melbourne onwards that sort of give you kind of motion sickness if you look at them too long. But yeah, it reminds me of FS2 where we all ran Custer Formula One 2000s based livery. So
yes, we did.
Boat Simulation ran with Jaguar Racing liveries, which was fun because whenever we run those livery, we always seem to get really good results because Joe Gillette got our first win in the wet, funnily enough, at Silverstone with that livery, and we did it in Interlagos and we got one of our best team results ever, fourth and fifth. And that got us just enough points.
Oh, wow.
Reading game, Tom Dillon's team that we are technically, up until the end of the season, we're still partnered with. So Tom was, of course, a good mate, so he'll be a little bit annoyed, I think, to miss out right at the end of the season. But nonetheless, those points all went to a good cause. And I'm looking forward to next season as well. But anyways, looks like the final Super League race of the season is about to get going. And Alex Lahou is already fighting with Jan Grankvist, which seems to be a bit of a precursor after... Yeah, I remember Jan went round the outside of him at the first corner in Circuit Americas, and he's trying to do the same here at the end of the warm-up, but unfortunately got Moritz Kropp in the way in the Nocturne.
Yeah, oh goodness, 3 wide into Ferradura, look at that! I don't know why I'm getting so excited. This is still only warm-up, but look at that, they're all over the road, they're off the road, they're coming into contact. Jan Grankvist doing a little bit of practicing, a little bit of battle practice here, and well, nearly coming to blows, but you know, this is Alex Lahou we're on board with, not Matthias Moos, as the Halo says. He vacated his car a few rounds ago. Goodness, all over the place these drivers are, and I'm amazed they tried to go 3 wide into Ferradura, but I guess they were trying to see if it was indeed doable. But anyway, the checkered flag is out on the warm-up session, as you can see, so we're now waiting for the session to take over so we can get ready for the start of the final Grand Prix of the year. It's going to be an emotional one. It's been a very entertaining season of Super League action. And even though the Drivers' Championship was wrapped up quite early, Jan still, every race he had to fight for it. Oh, goodness, and that was another close one as Laho pulled over and Krop kept going. Not that it matters in warm-up, of course. Any damage here can be immediately replaced for no added cost. And now we wait for the session to take over. Leave your predictions in the YouTube chat if you would like to. It's always fun coming back and looking at them at the end of the race, knowing what's happened, because dramatic irony is a real thing in Super League. And with the dramatic races that we've had, the unpredictability that we've had this year, there are not many predictions that have actually come true. It's like the great Murray Walker used to say, anything can happen in Grand Prix racing, and usually does.
It's interesting as well in terms of predictions, because there seems to be Marco Ferlich, the team principal of Superventure, or one of the team bosses, along with Jan Grankvist himself, says last to first DNF challenge. Loic Monier says last to first for the aura. And Joop Lahoven, I think, says Jan has this all planned out. And Istvan Single says Pumpquist power. Jan Dragoon predicts a Jan Grankvist win, which I think is quite bold. I'm going to be quite bold. I think Jan can finish top 3 by the end of this.
Top 3. I think top 5 is doable. I don't know about top 3, because of course we do have, you know, it's a massive field.
If he survives the first lap, then top 3, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a big if.
I reckon one of the THRs is going to win today. I don't think they're going to let the team's championship slide out from underneath them, and I think they want to do it in the most emphatic way possible. So I don't know if there's going to be many team orders between the two of them. Of course, the only thing that really...
as well, right behind them in third. We know what Jarl can be like.
That is true, but then again, you know, the only thing they've got to make sure is that Tom Stevens finishes the race, because then he'll get second place in the championship. It really does not matter if he wins or comes second. You know, they will not care about that. But if they can finish on a 1-2, then that will be job done, signed, sealed, and delivered. The only thing they could have done better was getting the Drivers' Championship as well. But if they come back next year, I'm sure they can challenge for that as well. Look at that, a full grid of 30 cars, and away we go on the formation lap, with the exception of one of the THRs getting going quite slowly. But anyway, let's take a look at the grid order. We got Tom Stevens on pole position, of course, alongside Adam Maguire. Jarl Tyen in third position, and Mark Schluter in fourth. Stevens and Schluter on that page are the two fighting for second in the championship. Robin Panzer, P5, then Carlos Martin, Jeffrey Fournier, and Owen McGorgy, both TOP esports drivers on that page, potential race winners. Jukka-Pekka Lalu, P9, a good qualifying performance for Super Venturi. Hygo Poom, top 10 for AKA Hero. Then Sergio Fletcher, a promising rookie for this series, and 12th place I completely missed, but Alex Laho is 13th, Dylan Fisher P14, Stein Hangraf P15, and Thomas Schwab P16. And thank you very much for telling me it was Chris Shepard in 12th position. I should really have the order up. Williams, Glenn, Krop, and Sakura are 17th down to 20th. We've got two of the debutants on that page, with Vin Glenn being the top. We've got Daniel Stepkowski, then Philip Pushke, Pascal Pollens, and Brody Lawless. Lawless, yet another debutant. We have Zolt Shukes, Lucas Stylen, Dominic Kurashavin, and Ben Skinner, with an emotional farewell for both of those Pescara ADG cars, but a welcome debut for both of their drivers. Justin van der Smissen, P29, didn't set a qualifying lap. And then from the very back of the grid will be the world champion Jan Grankvist, trying to get Super Venturi a result at the very end. But to be honest, I think just having fun out there. And we'll see what he can do from the very back of a massive grid of cars. Here we go now, 71 laps ahead of us. And they're lining up on the grid. It could take us a while. Look at the spray being kicked up further back. It looks, according to my race view, as if the top driver on intermediate tyres is Hygo Poom. There are a few drivers out there on inters. Fisher, Handgraf, Glenn, Sakura, and Thylan have risked it. But the top 9 drivers, yep, that does look to be the case. The top 9 drivers going safe on full wets. I say
Very
safe, of
AKA
course.
hero move, isn't it, Caitlin? Because this is exactly what they did in Hockenheim with Heiko risking it on the inters and Fischer following and then briefly taking the lead. But if I were Carlos Martin, I'd be looking very carefully at Fournier starting right behind him once more after what happened in Kota.
So now we wait for the lights. The drivers can see them. We can't quite, but when they go out, well, here we go. 4 lights, 5 lights, and we are underway for the last time in 2024. The THR cars lead us away. We've got Tom Stevens leading the race into turn 1. He'll cover off Adam Maguire. And around the outside comes Jarl Tyne, but he should slot in. Hopefully it's all clean further back. It's very difficult in these conditions, especially with the spray. You can't really see what's going on. The driver taking a look on the outside was Mark Schluter, the top driver not from the THR Nocturne squad, and Robin Pansar getting involved as well, and Pansar goes to 4th. So Robin Pansar, the top driver on a move in the Adonis engineering car, and goes to 4th position. The whole of the rest of the field streams through. It looks to have been relatively clean. Grankvist up 3 positions already into P27. Chris Shepherd, very slidey further back, gets away with it. He's got Jokpeka Lalu behind him, who's lost 2 positions at the start. Bit reflective, the curbs on the inside showing the water piling up, and a big twitch there further back. Lalu had a big twitch, and
it
on
was
his
Fischer and Lahoo.
Fischer, Lahoo, Sergio Fletcher had a big slide as well. There's Alex Lahoo. And we head down towards John Sao for the first time. You can barely see what's going on in that spray. Now we watch Alex Lahoo on the full wet tyres going up the hill through Subido de Boxes. And Tom Stevens leads us through the first lap, followed by Maguire, Tyne, Pansar and Schluter. Ed, I'm surprised the start was so clean, but that's a welcome surprise at that. And Chris Shepherd gets 9th position.
Yeah, Shepherd just holding on from Heiko Poom, who tried to find some grip around the outside on those inters, but didn't quite find it. But yes, very orderly start from THR and Nocturne. Schluter, though, loses out to Robin Pansar, which could be absolutely crucial for Adonis in their quest to beat Edge in the Drivers' Championship. Lahoo trying to go around the outside of Jukka-Pekka Lalu. Lalu defends well into the turn 4 complex, of course, and is able to hold that position as they go uphill into Larangina. There's Ben Skinner. So the Virtual Drivers by TX3 driver, Ben, has had a bit of a tricky start. He fell right to the back after the first corner as well, and that's enabled Grankvist to get past Brody Lawless as well into 24th. So this is Ben just ahead of Lucas Filing. And he, through Curva de Sol. I don't think he was tapped from behind. I think he just lost it on his own there.
Yeah.
And Ben just about keeping it out of the barriers and rejoining the circuit there. So rocky start in TX3's last race of the season. Their first race in a while as well. Brody 25th, Ben 30th.
Yeah, it's a tricky corner in the wet because you're accelerating all the way through the left-hander there. And you're still going up through the gears. And if you get wheel spin, the car can kick out. And look at Schluter now on the inside of Pansar. And Mark Schluter goes back through to 4th position. That's where he qualified, of course. Pansar got him on the first lap, and the order has been restored now by Mark Schluter. Of course, in these conditions, we're unlikely to see DRS, at least not for the time being. You don't necessarily need DRS in the wet. You just need to get a better exit to the corners than your opponents. And also, mistakes, of course, are more common in the wet. So if you make fewer mistakes than your opponents, you can make those overtakes. But it is quite tricky, especially with the lack of visibility. We've got a brief yellow flag, and I think Matthew Williams is involved.
Moritz Kropp as well.
Williams and Kropp dropping back through the field. And I'm sure we'll see in due time what's happened between the two of them. And we're going to see a replay now, courtesy of our cameraman Remco de Zeeuw, as we go down towards turn 4. And this is Kropp on the outside. And Kropp hits the back of Matthew Williams there and spins him around. And that's the trouble with these wet conditions. You can just lock up a wheel and go into the back of the car in front of you much easier than you can in the dry. And there it is from on board Matthew Williams. And I know that Matthew can get a little bit vocal when he gets taken out in a race like this. I'm sure that he will be using some choice words underneath that helmet there.
Yes, Moritz is not going to escape his wrath particularly quickly, although he'll hope to escape him up the road and not run into him later in the race. But just behind Moritz Kropp, funnily enough, is Mr. Jan Grankvist, who's just got past Vin Glenn's green stripe to run 21st. So Grankvist in the first 4 laps of the race is making excellent progress, almost 8 positions gained, I think, so far. And he's certainly not done yet with Moritz, next target up the road. There you go, 9 positions in fact. So he's definitely the biggest gainer, somewhat unsurprisingly, given that he's been mostly picking off a lot of the rookies here. But now this is where it will start to get that little bit tricky as he goes against people who do have experience of driving a Super League car in the rain. Although certainly not around Interlagos necessarily. But yes, as you say up front, it's THR really running away with things, with Stevens now second ahead of Maguire, Jarl Tyne another 7/10 back, and then Mark Schluter. And Schluter's talked to me about this when we've interviewed him in the past, that he feels like, oh, it's me versus 4 THRs effectively, although of course Moritz Krop's down here with Grankvist, but he always feels like he's a bit outnumbered essentially. Because Edge Esports don't really have any big partnerships with any of the rest of the, I guess TX3 technically, but they've been missing for most of the season. As bit of a connection issue there for Krop. He nearly lags into Jan Grankvist.
Well, luckily they've got away with that. Grankvist going for the overtake now on the straight. He got the slipstream and also a face full of spray, but importantly he got the slipstream and does go around the outside. Makes the move, covers it off, very good. In the background, we have 2 more cars side by side. One of the green striped cars, Glenn Vin. And another problem there for Moritz Krop. He's having real issues with his connection. And I very much hope
might be as well.
Oh, yeah, it looks like it's more than just Krop. He's having issues with it. Goodness, yeah, all the cars lagging around now. Our apologies, this isn't really something that we can control. I think it's a problem on the broadcast machine, but anyway. Back to the leaders we go. Mark Schluter in 4th position here, having got back past Robin Panzer, is on the tail of Jarl Tyne. The THR Nocturne squad occupying the top 3 positions, but if Schluter can pass Tyne, then he can throw a nail in, a spanner in the works rather. And these two have a little bit of history. Remember the collision at Baku that Jarl Tyne was ultimately found to be at fault for. And hopefully it can be a bit cleaner this time around.
Yeah, but of course Mark Schluter actually had a pretty good drive, didn't he, at Circuit of the Americas to get 3rd. Of course, he wasn't quite in contention with Stevens and Grankvist for the overall win, but he did beat Adam Maguire and the other challengers in that fight for 3rd position, with of course McGorgy and Fournier and Krop all in a fight with each other at the end there, with a couple others too, I think. But yes, Schluter definitely seems fired up. He's another driver that really seems to not be too put off by these wet conditions. Always seems to find that little bit of extra time. And the problem is that he's up against someone like Jarl Tyne, who we saw was brave enough to gamble on the Inters as well. I think Schluter and Stevens did the same in that quali session and then switched back to the wets, which showed that they weren't getting quite the time out that the Jarl Tyne was. As we see, Grankvist sets a purple first sector as he's passed Philip Pushke. So 1 champion overtakes a former champion, and now Grankvist is closing that 2.5 second gap to Pascal Pollens for 18th position. So it's not going to be too much longer before Jan is staring down the barrel of the points paying positions as he just gets on the power out of Bico Di Pato. Look how much he's pushing. Absolutely fabulous to watch Jan at 1 in his element, in the form of very, very wet elements here in Interlagos.
Yeah, indeed. Up 11 positions already. I knew he'd do well today, but this is quite something. Quite a drive from Jan Grankvist so far.
He's given himself a handicap here. He's going to wonder what he could have done if he'd qualified properly. It's Fischer side by side with Alex Lahou, just like on the first lap. And now the Intershot, aka Hero, has got the inside, but Lahou is not done with him yet. They hit wheels again out of Curva de Sol. And on the run down to the Retro-Aposta, it's still side by side. Fischer going for 13th position. Lahou holds it round the outside as they go into turns 4 and 5. But Dylan Fischer inches his way ahead on those Inters, and off goes Lahou and into the wall. And Alex Lahou is out.
Huge impact there for Alex Lahou, and he will definitely be out of the race with that. You can't get it back to the pits with a rear wheel missing. I know someone managed that. I think Chris Shepard managed that in qualifying at the USA. But in this impact, that is absolutely a retirement for Alex Lahou. There's a difference of tyres there between Lahou and Fischer, and you'd expect Lahou to have a little bit more grip, but you can see him just losing control as he oh goodness, I'm very lucky not to flip the car over, not that it really matters. And out of the race goes Alex Laho, the first retirement of the day, as we watch him in the pits now. Driver vacated, 29 cars remaining in the race. And here is Tomasz Vok in the all-important 15th position. And I say all-important because points-paying positions go down to 15th in GPWC. It's not like Formula 1, where only the top 10 score, and that makes sense because of our larger grid. And Jan Grankvist just got up to 17th position. He just overtook Pascal Pollens in the background of the shot. Again, an incredible start.
Second gap to Poland that quickly. Wow, maybe they all got distracted by Lahu going off. But apart from Jan, of course, who's just focusing on what he's got to do. 121.6, so he's matching Tom Stevens, despite the fact that he's having to overtake people in the middle of the pack there. So this is quite extraordinary. Just a word on Alex Lahu, a sad way for our Superlights champion to end the season, because Alex has had some great performances this year. Let's hope we see him back in Super League for a full season campaign in 2025.
Yeah, I think he's absolutely good enough for it, and I think that he's still young, he'll still learn from these performances, so definitely expect Alex Lahu to do better in the future. Chris Butcher says it really would not surprise me if Jan wins today. Again, little bit over optimistic, but I'll be eating my words if he does, and that would be quite something. I do wonder what the record is for the furthest back a driver has won in GPWC Super League. There's a move from Sergio Fletcher getting up to 9th place, passing Chris Shepherd. I do remember a driver winning from the back of the grid in what is now Formula Sprint 1. It was Super Cup at the time. It was, I think, 2018 Austria. There was a driver, Benz Schupanek, won it from the very back of the grid in race 2. But that was a very long time ago. But it was also wet conditions, so this, I use the phrase throwing a spanner in the works quite a lot. I guess puts a little bit of water in the system, sprinkles a little bit of dampness. Here's Justin van der Smissen in the Stax racing car, and heading through Ferradura. He's going to have a little bit of a slide. Decent save, actually. Doesn't lose too much time from it, cutting over the inside of the course, and carries on his merry way. And here's Ben Skinner now, running at the very back of the field. He's already had a spin today. Hopefully, nothing too serious that we're about to see. It's another spin. Keeps it out of the barriers, though. The barrier is quite close there. We've seen drivers crashing there in the past. Michael Ayres crashed out of a top 10 position back in 2021 at that corner. And Ben Skinner continues on his way, which is the important thing, because you want to be able to say that you finished on your GPWC debut. Anyway, back to the race. I think Hygo Poom just repassed Chris Shepherd, unless I'm very much mistaken.
Shepherd's 9 thousandths behind him, so they're certainly fighting hard. I'll tell you what also is interesting. Philip Pushke has pit off of the wet tyres and onto the Inters after 9 laps, essentially. So that is really interesting. We're seeing some of the tail enders start to gamble on the intermediate tyre. We've seen AK here and Green Stripes go for it with their 4 drivers, respectively. And here's Hygo Poom. Yeah, this is him getting back past Chris Shepherd. So are we starting to lean into territory with the rain easing off? It's still wet conditions, as there we go. Hygo just had the inside, and Chris Shepherd was sort of didn't try and fight that one too hard. He's more focused on not losing time fighting with Hygo at this phase of the race.
Yeah, it is interesting timing there with a brief yellow flag, but with Hygo Poom on the Inters making that overtake at the same time as a driver pitted for the intermediate tyres, it does make me think that we have the potential for Inters to come into their own in the near future.
Hygo was 121.7 last lap, so that was
and he just passed Chris Shepherd.
Maguire. Yeah, there we go. He's back past Shepherd again. So Shepherd's got decent straight line speed, but Hygo seems to have more grip on the corners.
No, sorry, I was mistaken because he was already ahead of Shepherd. The actual reason he gained a place is because Fournier is in the pits and Tomasz Vok is also in the pit lane now. Both of those and there's damage for Jeffrey Fournier. So Fournier has lost his front wing. I assumed that he was just pitting for intermediate tyres, but it looks as if there has been a collision. and there's another yellow flag out there somewhere. But Fournier is in the pits with no front wing. He has that replaced, and he continues on his way. And it looks like he stayed on the full wet tyres, which would make sense if he lost control in the wet. So back onto the track he goes after presumably a little collision out there somewhere.
Yeah, Philip Pushke has also set a purple first sector on his fresh set of inters, and he's just set a 1:21.7, exactly the same time that Heiko did on the lap before then, as it seems timing beams are going a bit crazy here because drivers are disappearing and reappearing. So clearly it's struggling to keep up, but of course up front Stevens has built a 2.6 second gap to his teammate Maguire here. So Maguire's starting to back Tyne and Schluter up a bit, and is this THR trying to build a gap so Tom Stevens can pit onto the inters potentially if the weather sort of stays as is and it sort of creeps further into inter territory, because there's every chance the rain could come back here or increase in intensity at the very least, and the wets might still be the tyres to be on. So even though a lot of teams are rolling the dice, it's not necessarily the right call, Caden.
Okay, well, let's not panic when we do see yellow flags. I noticed it was happening when Moritz Kropp was having brief disconnections, so hopefully that is the only reason that yellow flags are being shown sporadically out there on the track. Here's Mark Schluter, still running in 4th position. I noticed Justin van der Smissen pitted on that last lap. He's now a lap down. He could potentially have been the cause of one of the yellow flags as well. Schluter doesn't have the advantage of DRS that he would have in the dry. We've had a bit of a theme emerging over the last few races where in the early stages the leaders will swap themselves around a few times before the first pit window, but you won't necessarily see that today. Oh, and a big slide for Mark Schluter. You can tell how tricky it is to get on the power in these conditions heading up the hill. From the onboard view like this, it still doesn't look like intermediate tyre weather. It still looks as if there's puddles and dampness everywhere. And you can see the reflections on the curbs and offline. You really do not want to get out there, because that would be a big mistake. And it's all about finding the driest part of the track. Dylan Fisher, though, just overtook Jukka-Pekka Lalu for 11th position, and he is one of the drivers on those intermediate tyres. And we've lost both of the Stax racing cars. Damn. Okay, well, Stax are confined to the very back of the championship standings then. Of course, we had 15 teams coming into this season. Stax Racing will come away with a grand total of 1 point, a single point scored by Zsolt Schuks at the Italian Grand Prix. And unfortunately, they are very used to having no cars at all finishing these races. They only had one race this year where both cars made it to the checkered flag. So it's no real surprise to see the Stax Racing cars retiring from the race. And we're now seeing a replay of Dominic Kurashavin in the Pescara ADG car, also having a spin, and a very fast spin at that. He'd be lucky to keep it out the wall, which he does. Okay, good job from Kurashavin, carrying on in the race, but we weren't so lucky with the Stax Racing cars, Ed.
I have to say, well held by Dominic Kurashavin there, because I was commentating a race where a driver by the name of Cameron Roger in the dry had a very, very similar moment on that same curb, and he did not keep it out of the wall. He went straight across the track, just avoided another driver, and took himself out of that particular race, which was certainly unfortunate. But yeah, we do see both of the Stax cars drop out, and that's a shame, because Zux was returning for the first time in a while. He was sort of just outside the points as well. There was a good chance here with the rain, but clearly some unfortunate incident happened here. Is Heiko, and this looks like Sergio Fletcher starting to fight, and that's Owen McGorgy ahead in 7th position. So McGorgy under attack from Heiko Pum on the inters then. So the inters still at the moment it's kind of tailing off, because Heiko's being held up here by the wet tyre runner, so that's limiting the pace that he can run at. But so I suspect the inters can maybe go a bit quicker. But we have just seen Jeffrey Fournier set the fastest lap on a fresh set of wet, so it seems no matter what compound, you want to be on the freshest tyres possible, because they're the ones giving best performance. But of course, you've got to stay out there if you want to get the big points.
Yeah, of course. You have, of course, seen a replay of the Justin van der Smissen crash. I was looking away when we saw that, but I just looked back at it on the YouTube stream, and a big impact there for Justin van der Smissen. We haven't yet seen how Zolt Hughes retired from the race, but I imagine it was a similar thing, because that's the kind of thing that happens in these conditions. Here's an overtake now. This is Sergio Fletcher. No, this is Hygo Poom on Owen McGorgy on the outside line to... Well, and a little bit of a touch out of turn 2, but they get away with it.
His teammate Dylan Fisher's just got past Chris Shepherd for 10th position, so AKA Hero getting both cars into the mix here. The only problem is Owen McGorgy, as I said, is the cork in the bottle here that's preventing them from making more progress. So Hygo needs to find a way through here pretty quickly if he wants to sort of challenge the front runners for some decent points here.
He got right out over the curb on the exit of turn 4, the corner known as Decido do Lago, and out through the middle sector of the track he goes in 8th position. You've got to be careful to keep it off the curb through turn 4. It's tricky in the dry, actually. We saw some FS2 runners spinning there, and I can only imagine how much trickier it is in the wet. The next corner, of course, is where Alex Laho lost control, and he wasn't even on the curb, just had a big old snap of oversteer. And then when he corrected it, the tyres suddenly found grip and he was spat off into the barriers.
Yartan's taken second. Yartan's taken second off of Adam Maguire here.
Yeah.
But look at this, Hygo going to the outside once more on a McGorgy into the center S. He's got the overlap. McGorgy breaks late on the wet, extends the corner, blocks off Hygo Poom yet again. And now Sergio Fletcher wants revenge on Hygo here.
But you're absolutely right about Yartayan. Maguire was losing time to Stevens, dropped behind that 2-second buffer, and Yartayan almost immediately pounced. We've got... this scrap is still carrying on. Owen McGorgy, Hygo Poom, Sergio Fletcher, and Dylan Fisher. 2 drivers on inters, 2 on wets. Big twitch from Fisher. Great save, actually. Really, really good save. I thought he was gone there. And there was a yellow flag at the same time somewhere else. But, yeah, it's now Stevens leading from Tyan second, then Maguire, Schluter, and Panzer. And, of course, at this point in the race, we're normally talking about tyre strategy, but in the wet, it's completely different. Of course, the rules state that you have to use 2 compounds of dry compound rubber when it is dry weather, but of course, in the wet, that would be an unreasonable ask. So you are actually allowed to do. I mean, if you can actually do the full race on 1 set of tyres. And you aren't required to make a pit stop at all. But we do expect everyone to make pit stops nonetheless, because the wets are not designed to last 71 laps.
Fletcher.
And there,
double move from Fletcher.
Look at that, goes to the inside. They went to the outside of Pumi, goes to the inside of McGorgy. They're 3 wide, they're touching wheels coming through turn 2. Now through turn 3, still side by side. Going in 2 by 2. And a massive slide on the exit, and he's going to get gobbled up. That's a bit of a shame, really. I was about to compliment him for a fantastic double overtake, and he actually loses a place.
He has made a double overtake in all that. Dylan Fisher, not just past Fletcher, but past Poom as well. So Hygo was very cooperative when he saw Fisher just going around the outside of him at curve. As old Chris Shepherd fancies a go at the Spaniard Sergio Fletcher here. So we've got Carlos Martin escaping out the road and McGorgy doing his job for him. But here comes Dylan Fisher up the inside in the middle sector on those inters, and he's going to take Hygo with him. Owen is going to be absolutely stranded if he's not careful here. Hygo to the outside at Pico di Pato. And look, Dylan Fisher breaks a little bit to create space for Hygo Poom as well. Fantastic teamwork from AKA Hero.
Goodness me, but Fisher's running wide again. Where's the grip out there? Towards Junsel. Fisher has got it back on the line. He is in 7th position. What a fantastic lap there from Dylan Fisher.
Up to 3rd.
And yes, and Schluter's past Maguire. I implied that he was struggling, and Schluter is now up into 3rd ahead of Adam Maguire, who is struggling and is dropping back. Grankvist is up to 11th. Oh, and Fisher, he's in the pits. Fisher pits. Sorry, I thought he was having an issue there. And we're going to see a replay of something. So much has happened in the last few laps, I'm not sure what. This is Yartayan taking 2nd, so this is when he passed Adam Maguire. Up the straight, goes to the inside. Relatively straightforward manoeuvre there in the nocturne. And I'm sure soon we will see how much Schluter did the same thing on Adam Maguire. I wouldn't be surprised if it was pretty much the same overtake.
McGorgie's dropped out the points, by the way, down to 17th position then. So big mess for
Yeah.
McGorgie.
Vincent Gutt says Owen's car is broken, contact with Fletcher. Isn't that what happened in Singapore as well? He ended up with a broken car, and I have a feeling that was contact with Fletcher on that occasion as well, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. He went very, very deep into turn 5 or 6 at Singapore, and they sent him into the wall, sadly, which destroyed his suspension. So McGorgie doesn't look quite as damaged as he was that day. As we see, Luca Filin, I think, has just retired from the race, which is a huge shame there.
Oh, and apparently Jan Grankvist had a spin. People in chat are commenting on it. I don't know how they know more about that than we do. And Lucas Stylin is
replay, so they were in the server clearly.
Potentially, yeah. And Lucas Stylin, unfortunately, is out of the race, so retires from his first GPWC Super League race. Adam Maguire is in the pits. No surprise there. He's been struggling for a few laps now. We're going to see a replay of Jan Grankvist's presumed spin.
That's McGorgie and Shepherd he's fighting with, and they go 3 wide into the center rest. Oh, that is not ideal. And yeah, Shepherd was sort of sandwiched in the middle there.
Just gets closed off. Well, hopefully not too much damage. Whoa! A massive... Goodness me, what a moment there. Was that Alex Laho?
No, Laho's out of the race,
avoidance.
remember? Laho had that massive crash, so it can't be him.
Yes.
It's Pascal Pollens.
And I think Grankvist has damage. His car's not going straight down the straight. Oh, look at that. And he's crabbed his way back to his pit box. I think this might be the end for Jan Grankvist's charge up the field. He's certainly going to be affected by this. And
that's exactly what happens when you don't qualify. That's exactly what can happen.
That's true. Because you're back in the pack, and that could also be the end of the team's championship. That could very well decide it.
Whoa! There's a driver with no front left wheel coming out of the pit there. Or was that
can't be right.
Graphical error?
If that was right,
that must be Moritz, right?
Well, if that was right, he wouldn't have exited the pit lane, surely. Yeah, look, he's got all 4 wheels. Okay, so that was a glitchy sight, and he may have come into the pits with three wheels on his wagon, but he's exited the pits with 4. But yeah, I can't imagine that if a driver lost a wheel in the pit lane somehow, he would actually exit the pits. I think he would have to stop there. And another change of position. Looks like Maguire's just got back past Hangraf, back into 9th place. Really didn't lose that much. And Kropp has lost a wheel, and this was on the way into the pits, so he's had an accident out there somewhere, but does a good job to get it back to the pits and actually slow it down in time.
The method, as we call it. Yeah. Oh, and this is how it happened then.
So, and bang! There we go. And that was how Lucas Stylin retired from the race, I think.
Super unlucky for
that's
Luca.
That's not Stylin, is it?
It's one of the Piscar ADGs, and so it must be Filing because the other's still going.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is Lucas Stylin. So that's how Lucas Stylin retired from the race. It was contact with Moritz Kropp through no fault of his own. You can see he was trying to give him as much room as he possibly could without getting on the wet grass. And Lucas Stylin out of the race through no fault of his own. Moritz Kropp, good job to get it back to the pits, but unfortunately caused that incident. And that means we have 26 of our original 30 cars still running in this race. Anyway, wow, dramatic few laps, but I'm interested to see what happens to Jan Grankvist now. Is he out of the race? Does he have any lasting suspension damage? These cars, I've noticed especially the last couple... Well, he's a lap down, look. He's a lap down. And he does seem to be going relatively straight down the straight. Okay, so that's good to see. He is still in this race, technically, but he will no longer be in contention for a top 10 in this race.
Well, unless something truly bizarre happens, as we see Adam Maguire set the fastest lap of the race, and he's just gone round the outside of Lalu at turn 4 there. So Maguire, having chewed through his tyres in the first stint, is now reaping the rewards on the fresh, wet tyres then, while all of the top 7 yet to pit.
And this is Maguire having made his pit stop, making up these positions on drivers who have not yet made their stops. Went through on Lally. Lally tried to cut back, but found himself on the wet bit of the track and was not able to get back through on Adam Maguire. So, Tom Stevens in the pits. Stevens pits from the lead. Jarl also pits, so Mark Schluter will lead the race. Pansar goes through to second. Martin will go through to third, unless he pits too. He does go through to third. Yartine into the pits. It still seems to be full wet conditions. I don't think it's getting significantly drier. The conditions actually seem to be staying relatively stable in this race, which is important for the drivers. The most difficult conditions are the ones that you can't really predict, and it can be a little bit of a lottery out there sometimes when the rain turns itself off and on and off and on again. But on this particular occasion, it seems to be a consistent sprinkle. It's not getting worse, it's not getting better, and that means that the tyres you have been on, if they've been working for you, will continue to work for you. One thing I have noticed though is that, and side by side, Yartine, oh, and there might be contact here with Lalu. Lalu runs over the curb on the outside and Tyne gets the move done. Nicely done. Yeah, one thing I have noticed is that the AKA Hero drivers have stayed out a bit longer, so do you reckon the Inters might be lasting longer than the wets here, or are they just happier with the conditions?
I think it's also sort of a gamble, isn't it? Because, like you said, the rain's stable. I looked at the weather radar. It's not showing really any rain for, as we see, Mark Schluter now has got to pit in response to Tom Stevens and Yartine and Robin Panzer and Carlos Martin committing to that same strategy then. So, yeah, AKA Hero could well stay out here, and that could give Fischer and Poom track position. So
and Dylan Fischer leads the race. Dylan Fischer, who qualified, what was it, about 15th position for this one. Igo Poom, who started 10th. And they are first and second in this race now, but yet to make a pit stop. Not that anyone technically has to make a stop. And Stevens goes to second. Steven passes Poom on the road. So this is now the fight for the lead. Let's keep watching this, actually. I want to see if Tom Stevens makes this move stick on the road. He's within a second of Dylan Fischer now, and reeling him in hand over fist.
Yeah, and this isn't going to be too close, I don't think, because what have AK Hero got to fight with here? They're worn Inters versus fresh wets, even on a track that may be going towards the Inters. You definitely want to be on the fresher tyres here, and it looks like Maguire is sizing up Poom in the background as well as this is happening, so I suspect Stevens would just go round the outside into the centre S here.
Is that Lalu following them close, a lap down? So, not Lalu, sorry, Jan Granqvist. And here comes the move. Tom Stevens going to the inside of Sabide de boxes and goes through, and Fischer will dart into the pit lane. So Stevens does make the move on the track, but it doesn't end up mattering. Poom will stay out a lap longer and will actually try to re-pass Adam Maguire here. But Maguire does go through, so it's THR 1-2 as it was in qualifying, as it has been for the majority of the race. And that means, of course, that Maguire jumped back past Tyne and Schluter in the pit stages by pitting sooner. So it looks as if the undercut is effective here.
Yeah, and Schluter and Panzer, by pitting later, have lost a little bit of ground, haven't they, to Jarl Tyne in that fight for third. But of course, the upside is that Schluter and Panzer have got much fresher tyres, Martin as well, going into this stint, as Tyne sets the fastest lap of the race, 1:20.1, the gap to Maguire, just a second. Again, I suspect Tyne and Maguire may start dueling each other now they've both cleared Hygo Poom. But yeah, where's Dylan Fischer re-emerge? He's gone on for another set of Inters and he's in 11th position. So AKA Hero are all in on the Inters here. And in fact, it has officially stopped raining. We're seeing the sun icon on race view, which means rain has stopped falling on the circuit. So now this is going to be really, really interesting because Fischer has gone onto another set of Inters at exactly the right moment for him.
I think showing the sun icon is a little bit optimistic, but it is certainly brighter out there, and you can see, well, you can no longer see the raindrops coming down, so this could well play into the hands of the likes of Dylan Fischer and Hygo Poom, who have been doing an awesome job in this race so far. Poom pits, and by staying out longer, he has ensured that the intermediate tyres will be the better tyres to go onto. Yellow flags out there again. Of course, the difficulty would be if it starts raining again, which is entirely possible. There was a race earlier this year where the rain couldn't make up its mind, just kept coming on and off and on and off. In the pits now, Vin Glenn as well. And a move in the background, and that was Stein Handgraf. So Handgraf going through on Pascal Pollens. it's Fletcher, sorry. Fletcher side by side with Hangraff. They're fighting over 13th position. And we were mentioning Vin Glenn a second ago, and he was doing a very good job before his pit stop, up into the top 10. Hangraff back to the inside now. And that's a tough place to make a move because it's wet still on the inside line. The outside is where the drier section is. And now we head up through Ferradura. This is where we've seen contact in warm-up. And Fletcher keeps the position. Nicely done. And there's fresh tire marks. Oh! And is that Lalu? It's Lalu. Lalu loses more positions. He drops to 15th position. You saw the tyre marks as he went through the corner, so Lalu has had a spin, presumably by himself, and Tyan retakes second. Jarl Tyan retakes second as we're about to see a replay of what happened. And where is Jukka-Pekka Lalu? Up through Ferradura, you can see the fight in the background that we were just watching, but we're about to see the Super Venturi driver lose control over the curb. Very similar to what Carlos Sainz did in the Grand Prix, but keeps it out of the wall and resumes behind that battle pack. And here's Jarl Tyan making that move for second position in the race, just as he did the first time round. He does it again, and Maguire has nothing to say to him as he sees his squad mate, you could say, not teammate, but squad mate, going through on the inside.
Okay, interesting development here. Matthew Williams has just set the fastest lap of the race on intermediate tyres, down in 17th. Vac is the leading driver on Inters, so he started on wet tyre and pit for Inters 16 laps ago, so he's got a massive undercut on Fisher, who's about 3 seconds behind him. But Fisher has just gone into his second set of Inters here, so this is really Dylan Fisher's time to shine here. He could potentially get a huge jump. He's 23 seconds down on the lead. If he can get into the pit window of Tom Stevens, then he is absolutely in this one.
I don't think Jan Sakura's made a pit stop yet either, so he would be the top driver yet to pit, unless I'm very much mistaken.
That's correct.
27 laps, leaving it late, but why not, I guess, in these conditions? Wait and see how things unfold.
Fastest middle sector for Fisher, 41.8, so that's about over half a second quicker than Tom Stevens.
And Stein Hangraff did end up getting Sergio Fletcher on those intermediate tyres and going through into 12th position. So here's Jarl Tyan. We're about to see a replay of the move. Stein Hangraff getting it down the straight, down Decido du Lago, the descent to the lake. And around the outside he goes, just finds the extra grip and finds himself on that drier line. And through he goes into that P12 position.
But things have already changed, Caitlin, because the weather radar is showing it's raining again, apparently.
Well,
so we'll see if the weather can rake up its mind, but this all of a sudden has changed things completely and means that those on the full wets are going to at least temporarily breathe a sigh of relief.
I can't remember what race it was. Was it Germany when this happened?
Was it Hockenheim, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Hockenheim when this happened earlier this year, where it was on and it was off, and every time it changed, me and I think, was it Ryan that I was commentating with that day, or was it you?
Yeah.
Was it Ryan? Okay.
Because I commentated, I edited that, and I remember cutting around you and Ryan's voices. So.
Well, that would do it then, wouldn't it? Honestly, I can't remember that far back. So much has happened since then. But yeah, we'd mention it every time it would happen, and then it would change again immediately. So you really cannot bank on anything happening in these races. James Hunt always used to say that you've just got to react to how the weather is in that moment. You can't try to predict it because it will spit in your face. And here's Pascal Pollens on the back of Jukka-Pekka Lalu, who is recovering from that spin. I think recently past Pollens, unless I'm very much mistaken.
I think you're right. Yeah, he's just got past him in the last couple of laps. But Matthew Williams was in the 119s. He's eked back into the 120.3s, which is a tenth faster than Tom Stevens, and actually a couple of tenths slower than Jarl Tyan, who is starting to cut into that lead that Stevens has built up here. So certainly, if it keeps raining again, suddenly it's going to go away from AKA Hero here. Because Dylan Fisher, still 23 seconds behind, is going to start to drop out of Tom Stevens' pit window here.
Okay, Rodrigo Carvalho, I think this is an outdated message in the YouTube chat saying, if it does not rain again, aka maybe was the winners of this pit stop stage. It certainly looked that way, and it could still end up being that way depending on how heavy the rain is. And Vincent
how
guts
long it lasts as well.
It's raining again, just like at the beginning, and now we've got two intermediate shot runners side by side, with Fischer going for it on Tomasz Vok to be the top driver on the intermediate tyres. Oh goodness, very little space left down the straight, nearly crowding him to the outside. Fischer gets the brakes a little later, finds himself on that wider line. Now up towards Ferradura, over the curb. They're still side by side, look at this. And it's Fischer who covers it off. Very good move that took him several corners. Nearly half a lap.
Yeah, and that's a difference. That's the difference between 19 lap old Inters and 5 lap old Inters. So massive advantage to Dylan Fischer. But nonetheless, he had to absolutely stick it out. Thomas Vack was not going to give that one up without a fight, and he certainly provided one because he's trying to make his strategy work as well. I think we might see Vack into the pits before too long.
Meanwhile, Schluter is side by side with Maguire. This is for third position, and he's through once again on the inside, just as he was before the pit stages. They have Jan Grankvist on their tail, but it's not quite as pressing as it otherwise would have been. But yes, that was an overtake there from Mark Schluter for the second time in this race. Meanwhile, Tom Stevens has extended the gap for the lead to 3.5 seconds, so he is getting away in these conditions from Jarl Tyen now. And here's a replay of what we've just seen. And this is Mark Schluter lining up Adam Maguire all the way through the final corner, down the start-finish straight, and going through on the inside. And there it is, relatively straightforward there for Mark Schluter. He's clearly quicker than Maguire at this point in the race, but Maguire had the advantage of the undercut in the pit window, which is very important here today. And we'll keep an eye out for that in the second pit window that surely will be coming. Oh, and Philip Pushkay's just retired from the race. We've lost Philip Pushkay and Ben Skinner. So Skinner out of the race in his first start in GPVWC Super League. And Philip Pushkay, former champion of the 2015 season, is also a retirement, unfortunately. So 24 cars remaining in this race now, with 21 of those on the lead lap, Ed.
Yeah, big shame for Pushkay. He's going to end this season with, I think, 5 retirements in a row, which is pretty demoralizing. A lot of those disconnections as well, so not really anything poor Philip could have really done about that. But yeah, as we watch on screen, and a big shame for Ben Skinner, not the way his debut race, he wanted his debut race to end. But of course, TX3 have still got Brodie Lawless, still going in 20th, about 2 seconds behind Owen McGorgy, both on the full wet tyres, whereas Grankvist and Shepard, who are also involved in that contact with McGorgy, they are both on the Inters and a lap down, of course. So Jan, while he's right behind one edge, it's the other edge of Shepard that he's actually fighting against, not Mark Schluter. So he's just trying to shadow Schluter at the present moment as the rain has stopped once more. So
Okay.
Sliding back into Inters territory. So Dylan Fischer, the gap to Tom Stevens had gone back up to 25 seconds. Now this is scary times for those on the full wets, because the Inters are going to absolutely make hay while the sun literally shines.
Okay, well, I don't see the sun just yet, but it might well. And
it's kind of made the expression work. I have to work with what I'm giving here.
I know. Sorry. Rodrigo Carvalho in the YouTube chat confirmed that it's been like this all day in reality over there in Brazil. Of course, Rodrigo lives in Brazil in reality, and that makes sense because this weather is it's modelled after the real life weather. I think it's delayed by about an hour, so if you have someone out there in Brazil, they can kind of tell you what it's going to be like as far as the race is concerned. But yeah, it's quite a unique feature of GPVWC that we do have live weather. Matthew Williams now going for a move on Daniel Stepkowski into turn 1. This is for 14th place. Inters versus full wets. Touch, little contact. Gets away with it, 14th place. Okay, can't afford to do that too much. We've seen turn 2 being a bit of a problem spot so far today. That was where Jan Grankvist had his incident with McGorgy and Shepard.
You can tell Matthew Williams is feeling annoyed with the way that Moritz Kropp hit him at the start of the race, because he was ahead of Dylan Fisher when that happened, so he would potentially be well in the top 10. Instead, he is just inside the top 14 and just saves onto that slide at the exit of Rodero there as he chases down Lalu, who is still on the full wets, whereas Matthew Williams, since switching to the Inters, it's really transformed his race in terms of his pace has been absolutely electric as soon as the conditions have gone in his favour here. Fisher, last lap, a tenth slower than Stevens, so they're starting to equalise again. But from now on, look at the times of those Inters runners, because they're only going to get quicker. And here comes Heiko Poom making a move on the RSR of Thomas Vack, who continues to fade away on 23-lap-old Inters, although Jan Sakura has done 33 laps on his and is still just about holding on to the top 10 from Handgraf. In fact, he sets a personal best, 121.3, but still a second slower than Handgraf behind him.
And the promising performance for Eki Hero continues as it was. Will Panisi in the YouTube chat now saying, I can guarantee the weather in Brazil is unpredictable. Well, we didn't need to be told that, but that's very, very clearly the case. And I would like to give a quick shout out to Will Panisi, actually, who is very much behind this league, GPVWC Super League. Him and Chris Williamson are probably the two most influential people in GPVWC history. And if you see them at GPVWC Day, which is in December, I believe, then make sure to give them a big old handshake and a lot of respect, because they very much deserve it. Meanwhile, Jarl Tyen is in the pits and Mark Schluter has followed him in. So we once again have a THR 1-2. Maguire, unlike in the first stint, staying out longer. Williams rubbing wheels now with Lalu for 13th position. And still side by side towards Junsao. Williams 13th, his Handgraf fighting with Sakura. Has Sakura still not pitted in this race, like at all?
No, he hasn't. He's gone all in on the Inters.
Goodness me.
Sure, this is going to be straightforward for Handgraf. Brakes super late compared to the Epic Racing car into turn 1, and through he goes into the top 9, which would be his best result of the season if Stein can stay there. There's Mark Schluter. He's just pit, and he's come out right behind Heiko Poom.
Was Schluter ahead of time before the stops? I don't think he was he?
I don't think so, no. So quick stop from Edge Esports has jumped them ahead then. So yeah, they're gambling on the Inters because they're expecting basically it to dry out and not rain again in the next couple of laps effectively. Whereas THR and Robin Pansar are both staying on the full wets at least for another lap or so. And look at this, up the inside comes Schluter on Heiko Poom, but Poom defends into Bico de Pato as they go downhill into Magulio, and now Schluter's being backed into Jarl Tyen here. So this is really tricky for them. They've got the fresher tyres, but they can't get through. Maguire now pitting as well.
I should correct myself, actually. Apparently GPWC Day is only in a week. Goodness me. Meanwhile, here is that fight. Mark Schluter and Jarl Tyen both going past Heiko Poom on the outside. They're side by side towards turn 1. Big dive from Jarl Tyen back to the inside. These two have already made contact this year. They rub wheels again. They come through turn 2. Turn 3 now. Tyen has the inside. Tyen gets back through just as he was before the pit stop. And what an overtake that was. Very brave, very last minute, and very, very decisive.
Yeah, 2 purple final sectors for Jarl Tyen as well, but Mark Schluter is not going to be best pleased with that, coming out second best to Jarl Tyen again. But luckily, at least it was side-on contact this time, not contact with the rear tyres of Mark Schluter. But yes, Tom Stevens still staying out, and he's got an 11-second lead to Robin Pansar, but Fisher is in the 1:19.1s, lapping almost a second lap quicker than Stevens at the moment. And here's Schluter's pit stop.
And this was the stop that got him ahead of Jarl Tyen in the first place, up and down very quickly indeed. And quicker pit stops is actually something you can work on over the course of the season. You can put R&D points towards it as a team. And
Stevens pitting from the lead.
And Stevens comes in from the lead of the race, as you say. And we've seen how effective the undercut is in this race. So let's see where Stevens will come out in relation to his main rivals. Pansar leads the race now. Stevens on the full wet still, despite the rain being stop-start.
No, he's gone for the Inters. He's gone for the Inters.
Okay, so it hasn't updated itself yet. We still
Fisher
see him on wet. Has Fisher? Yes, so Fisher through on Stevens. And Jarl Tyen and Schluter are behind him.
Tom Stevens put a lap too late there. He's been basically undercut by not switching to Inters early enough. And look, even you can see now he's got to make up that ground quickly, because if he's stuck behind Fischer, he's going to be backed into Jarl Tyen, who's flying as well in the 1:17.2s at the moment. A second lap quicker than Fischer. And then Panzer, really, he's just hoping it rains again. That's his only hope at the moment.
We were talking about GPWC Day. Dylan Fischer I met for the first time at GPWC Day last year. This year it is held in Warszawa, Polska. And if you are in the area, make sure you drop by. But yeah, I wasn't aware it was quite this early, actually, so you can tell I'm not going, unfortunately, but I hope you will have a very good time there this year. Now we're heading up the straight once again. Tom Stevens in the slipstream of Dylan Fischer towards the start-finish straight. We're at the halfway point in the race. Here's the move. To the outside goes Tom Stevens, and through, back into what could end up being the net lead of the race goes Tom Stevens in that THR car. And now we wait to see what Tyen and Schluter can do in retaliation, and what Fischer can do to hold on as well.
Jarl Tyen sets the fastest lap of the race, 1:16.9. Fischer sets a 1:18.6 then. So Jarl Tyen is just absolutely flying out there, and if Fischer can hold him up, it really plays into Stevens' hands. We also see Jan Grankvist is gambling. Oh, very early move there, uphill into Ferradura, and Jarl Tyen up to third.
Yeah, well, you were about to mention Jan Grankvist. Someone in the YouTube chat says he's on slicks. That can't be right.
Showing him on hard tyres. That's what I'm seeing here. And his lap times aren't actually too far off. 19.7 in the first sector, which is only about 2/10 slower than Panzer. But he is
having a laugh. The dry line isn't even dry. It's just slightly less lap than the rest of the track.
It started raining again. There he is, definitely on the hards. And look at that.
He's off. Okay, well, he is having a laugh, and he's getting lost. He's doing a Kimi Räikkönen. This is ridiculous. He's going to get himself disqualified at this rate. You get an automatic disqualification if you get. Never mind. He's rejoined the track.
Hit the marshal, I think, or either that or he hit the ambulance next to him. But Jan Grankvist certainly having an event, and he's sticking it out. He thinks the rain is going to go away. I think Jan is very much mistaken.
This is trolling at this point. This isn't.
Mark Schluter's got past Fischer, by the way. Mark Schluter up to fourth as well, and Adam Maguire is setting the fastest lap of the race, 1:16.3, as Jarl Tyen continues to light up that first sector. So Fischer, now he's starting to feel the pain of being on the Inters a little bit longer than some of the others. 14 laps he's been on them, I think. And
Jan Sakura finally makes his pit stop. That was an incredible stint from the rookie.
Has Panzer played this right? Because he's still on the full wets.
Yeah.
And all the others are on the Inters behind him.
Yeah, if it chucks it down, he may well have played it right, but I'm not sure that it will chuck it down for long enough. Of course, the rain has come and gone and come and gone, and continues on his way. I'm afraid I've just seen that Brody Lawless is out of the race as well. I think he actually retired a few laps ago, but I've only just seen his retirement. Panzer into the pits now. Stevens will retake the lead of the race. Tyen goes through to second. Schluter is third. Tell you what, Adam Maguire is still really losing out in this. He's dropping back as the race goes on. More and more every lap. And Panzer goes to Inters. So he agrees with me. The weather is too unpredictable to put all of your eggs in the wet weather basket, or indeed the dry weather basket, as Jan Grankvist seems to have done. I think he is just having fun out there, and I'm just hoping. And he comes in, so Grankvist does pit. And I tell you what, thank goodness for that. With all the respect in the world to. Oh, it's Lalu. Never mind. My apologies.
Well, Lalu doesn't like the full wets either, it would seem. But yeah, Jan in a club of one. And it's getting smaller and smaller by the lap as the rain continues to track it down. But I suppose, given he was a lap down, he decided just to roll the dice. But didn't seem like a very scientific-based decision. It felt more like a let's just hope it dries out from now on. And that's not been the case. It's not showing any signs of that being the case, as Stevens and Tyen are just trading fastest laps for each other. Tyen 1.2 seconds behind the man second place in the championship for, it seems like it's going to be 2 years running, and the man leading the charge in THR's team's championship, I should say.
Well, this is ludicrous from Jan Grankvist, but I tell you what, he's actually doing an incredible job out there. He's setting personal best sectors. This is unbelievable stuff. Meanwhile, we've had
118.0, so he's faster than those ahead on the Inters. But not
Goodness me! Well, the fastest lap of the race has just been set by Tom Stevens. Yeah, fastest lap, so that is worth a point if it finishes. Vin Glenn, the top.
Look at
top
Fletcher.
debutant.
All over the show, Sergio. And now he's going for 2 and 1 once again. Here he goes into the center S. He sticks into the outside, takes the inside, and Stepkowski is dispensed with. Vin Glenn is passed as well, and Sergio Fletcher up to 12.
Great move there from Sergio Fletcher. Very decisive once again, and I'm very impressed by that one. Up into 12th position in this race. And the 2 cars he passed were Vin Glenn, the rookie, and Daniel Stepkowski on the full wet tires. I tell you what, you can see the rain coming down again, so if it had stopped, it's restarted once again. But
no, I think we're still in the previous it's raining again phase. But even with the rain falling down, here comes Adam Maguire finally on Fisher.
He's caught him, and he gets him up the inside. Maguire up into 4th position. I don't think the full wet tyres are the tyres to be on at this stage. We've now got Martin side by side with Poom. Round the outside. Good move from Martin. He'll get the inside for the next turn. There he goes. There was a change between Hangraf and Walk as well, I believe.
I think the problem for those who stayed out on the full wets is even though it started raining again, by the time it arrived, the full wets were just absolutely toasted.
And here's a replay, and this is Stein Handgraf. This is his move on Tomasz Bock. Down the straight, this will be straightforward. Through he goes. And does make the move stick. What a crazy race this is, my goodness.
Happy days for Handgraf. So this could be his best result of the season. And he's one of the ones who's gambled on the Inters, of course, and sort of stuck with it. Just like the AK Hero cars have done. So he's on a very similar strategy there. Stepkowski has finally had enough of the full wets and is going for the Inters. But what a big result this would be for Green Stripes. Probably not enough, well, it would certainly be enough for them to beat TX3. They're only a point behind because both TX3s are out. But it's probably not going to be enough for them to catch Zortax. They're about 30 points ahead of them.
Yeah, Stein Handgraf. I remember he was over the moon with his top 10 result at the German Grand Prix. He was very, very happy after this one. Could he be on for even better here today in very similar conditions? Into the pits there was Tomasz Bock in the other RSR car. Robin Panzer, 9th position. Chasing Stein Handgraf, 8th position. So we are 42 laps into this 71 lap race now. We have Tom Stevens leading by 2 seconds over Jarl Tyne. That gap's shrunk. That gap's halved since the last pit stop, actually. So Tyne doing a good job to reel it in. Mark Schluter just a second behind. He's not out of it yet either. And there's Jan Grangfist and back on Inters. No real surprise there. I tell you what though, I am absolutely amazed that he did so well on the slicks. I have no...
Let me add insult to injury for Jan Grangfist. It stopped raining.
It stopped raining, okay. Well, even so, that was quite a stint from Jan Grangfist. I think he went out with the aim of having a laugh and then realised that it was actually worth it. So, whatever the case, still...
and Pascal Polens is pitting for soft tyres.
Okay. Wait, really? Another set of slicks?
Yep. The moment the sun comes out, they start rolling the dice and gambling. And Pascal Polens is going to hope that it stays drying rather than changing, as we see yellow in the first sector. So somebody, I suspect Pascal Polens is about to have a bit of issues here because he's going to come out onto the wet stuff, getting onto the dry line is emerging. If you can stay on that dry line, he might just be okay. Meanwhile, Mark Schluter, by the way, has been catching 0.6 of a second per lap on the Jarl Tyne the past couple of laps. So Tyne is actually starting to feel the pressure from behind quite significantly now.
I don't believe that though. One driver going off slicks as another one goes onto slicks, and he slides wide. And the yellows are incessant here. I very much hope that no one is badly affected. Pascal Polens still on the road despite a little twitch that we saw a couple of corners ago. Mark Schluter's now back within a second of Jarl Tyne in their particular fight. And You very rarely see races where we've got drivers on slicks at the same time as others on full wet tyres, but we've seen that on a couple of occasions now today. And I was absolutely sure that Jan Granqvist was going to end up in the barriers throughout that. Unfortunately, the DNF was Dominik Koroshavin, and that brings to an end the entire history of Pescara ADG in GPWC Super League, as far as we're aware. I was told by Menno Klont earlier that Eros Masculi is withdrawing his team, and with Koroshavin's retirement, we are unfortunately going to see no more of them this season, or indeed any other season. There is, of course, always an open door in the future. Teams can reapply, but it looks as if that is the end for Pescara ADG, and it's a shame to see it end with a double DNF, but in conditions like these, and with two brand new drivers, that was always likely to be the outcome, Ed.
Yeah, that's a big shame. I think their best result in Super League was Alessandro Quinte at the 2022 Portuguese Grand Prix. So that is, it's sad, of course, that we didn't get to see them score particularly well this season, of course. So as we see Zach Granqvist calling it a day. Oh dear, so the world champion having literally just gone on to...
Yeah.
As it dried out, has decided to take matters into his own hands and go into the pits to retire. So that is a shame. I think Jan had a brilliant season, and of course the driver's title was already wrapped up. There was not too much at stake for him, given the team's championship was a bit of a long shot against THR, because they need to outscore THR by a lot to win it here. 23 points, of course. As we see Matthew Williams pitting from the top 10. That's a big shot, and I think Jan did set the fastest lap of the race on the Inters just before he retired, so proving a point, 1:15.4.
Yeah,
as Williams is going on to the hard tyres, doing the Jan Granqvist strategy. Let's see how this works for him as Schluter continues to close inexorably on the back of Jarl Tyne, who's dropped way off the back of Stevens, almost 4 seconds now.
Now, we can't officially classify Super Venturi, or we can't officially declare THR to be the team's champion until they cross the start-finish line at the end of the race, or the finish line at the end of the race, of course, because there are still enough points up for grabs technically. And yep, Schluter does go for the move on Tyne, goes up the inside and does go through into second position. Good move, and just at the right time. Sorry that I was distracted and didn't see that one coming. But yeah, what I was going to say is that for Super Venturi to win the championship now, they would need Jukka-Pekka Laulu to win this race, and he is in 16th position, so that is not going to happen. So realistically, that very much declares THR as the team's champion, if it was in any doubt at all before that. But of course, we can't actually announce that until they cross the start-finish line at the end, and even then, the results are only provisional. But whatever the case, and we're about to see a replay. And this is Jan Granqvist retiring from the race. Was it an accident, or did he... Yeah, loses it through turn 2, has a spin, goes across the track, and bonk into the barriers. Just a little touch, but that ends the day for Super League 2024 World Champion. A disappointing way to end the season, but what a season he's had nonetheless. A very well-deserved champion. And I tell you what, he gave us a performance today, didn't he? Gave us a show before retiring from the race, and I'm sure that even though this is a race to be forgotten, he will remember it for all the strangest reasons.
Yeah, it's certainly been a bit of an odd one as Martin goes around the outside of Fischer. So yeah, those the AKA heroes staying out on the Inters is really starting to hurt them here, as Panzer, who of course was the most recent of the leaders to pit 8 laps ago for those Inters, gets past Heiko Poom into the first corner. Yes, it continues to dry out. Those gambling on the dry tyres, it'll be interesting to keep a track of their progress. Williams is starting to match the leaders in the first sector and the second, and then we got Polenz and Kropp on the softs. Shepard is another that's gone for the hards as well, so they're thinking it's going to go dry, maybe if not to the end, then very, very close at least.
Okay, so 2 drivers on slick tyres now, Polenz and Shepard. Oh, 3, Kropp is also on the slick tyres.
All 3 dry compounds.
And Matthew Williams on hards. Okay, fascinating. Sorry, sometimes it takes a little while for the timing screen to update, and it tends to be a little bit of a guess what tyres people are actually on. Oh, McGorky's now in the pits as well. I wonder if he's gambling.
Well, may as
I guess
well.
there is...
McGorky was fastest man on track the previous lap on the Inters, so he's sort of thinking, if I'm going to be gaining time, I want to be on the risky tyre, effectively, and just pray it doesn't start raining again. But Williams has already caught up to the back of Sikora, and is Sikora, yeah, he's on, because Sikora went long, he's been only on the Inters for about 9 laps, so this could be a bit trickier than Williams is maybe expecting here.
Well, it still says that McGorky's on intermediate tyres, but as I said before, the timing tower does tend to guess for a little bit until the driver has completed a couple of sectors.
He's on mediums or hards.
Into the pits now comes Sakura. There was another driver coming in ahead. Was that Vin Glenn? Yes, it was. Both of those into the pit lane, so Williams through into 12th position. The top driver on slick tyres as it stands. McGorky is on the medium tyres now. And just behind Chris Shepherd, who is also on slick tyres, through Bico de Pato. And this is the most dangerous part of the race so far. Confusingly, of course, because it is drier than it has been. There is more grip out there than there has been at any other point in the race, but because drivers are risking more now going onto slicks, this is the time where we're most likely to see accidents.
Except that it's now started raining, so yes, we're even more likely to see accidents as into the pits comes Dylan Fisher.
And Hygo Boom.
Fresh Inters, yeah, so aka here, the Inters just couldn't last another lap as more rain's coming. They need more tread on those tyres to survive this.
Don't worry too much about double stacking in the pits. It doesn't cost the teams any time. It used to, but nowadays they all have their own pit boxes. Of course, it used to be something you actually got penalised for. I remember Nordschuen in their last Grand Prix in 2017 ended up getting a penalty for double stacking their cars. I think that was a little bit harsh, but they ended up losing out on a potential double podium as a result of that. And on this occasion, Aki Hero, I'd love to see what tyres they've gone onto actually, because they did come in right as the rain started up, and I don't know. Intermediates, okay, that would make sense.
I'll tell you who's really impressing me, Caitlin, Mark Schluter, because he's just continuing. The previous lap he took half a second out. This lap he just took a 10th out of Stevens, who's continuing to set personal best, but Schluter's just eating into that gap once again. So we had the first phase of the race, Jarl Tyne looked like the biggest challenger to Tom Stevens, and now it's going the way of Schluter as he just gets more and more confident. So Mark Schluter, he may have been a little bit down in the dumps, a little bit annoyed that the last couple of races didn't quite go his way, but the fight is certainly not gone out of him. As the rain continues to fall down, he's starting to get back into his element here.
And yet the slick tyres are still viable. The fastest lap of the race last time around was set by Pascal Pollens. So it's still viable for the time being until it gets worse. And there's Poom fighting with Tomasz Vok. 9th position, Hygo Poom. Have AKA Hero had a double top 10 yet this year? I'm not sure if they have. They've got close a couple of times. AKA Hero...
they have, yes.
Hockenheim.
Yeah, Hockenheim.
So another changeable condition. Interesting.
Yeah, 5th and 8th.
So just like Stein-Hangraf, it seems that these conditions favour them. Through the middle of the circuit they go. And the rain continues to come down, but we know from the race already it could stop at any minute. Mark Schluter, meanwhile, gets the gap for the lead down to below 2 seconds, so he is gaining on Tom Stevens. Makes me think that Tyne lost pace rather than Schluter gaining pace all of a sudden. Tyne now dropping to nearly 4 seconds off.
And what's really impressive is that Stevens is on, he pit 2 laps later than Schluter in Tyne, so he's on older Inters, Schluter, and he's lapping quicker than Tom Stevens, even as the rain continues to fall. As we see Owen McGorgy deciding to abandon his experiment on the medium tyres, I think, and going back to the Inters.
Do you expect another pit window for the leaders, or are they just going to see how it plays out now?
It depends how it plays out. I think the Inters is the sensible choice, and I think AK Hero give themselves a lot of flexibility, and the same with Handgraph as well, by just sticking to the inters, because then they're sort of in the like I say, flexible position no matter what the weather is. We see Fischer set a 1:15.8, which is his personal best lap of the race. He's matching Schluter's lap times and quicker than Stevens and Tyne as well. So Fischer 43 seconds down the lead at the moment, but he is going to start eking into the pit window of Tyne, Maguire, Martin and Panzar especially. So yeah, Fischer still a bit of a threat.
Mark Schluter now under 1.5 seconds behind Tom Stevens. Now what does, 1.6 overall. What does Tom Stevens do about this? Does he have anything left up his sleeve? Does he decide to pit and see what happens? We'll have to wait and see. We've got less than 20 laps to go in this race. And it would be the longest stint of the race if they were able to stay out to the end. But we've seen with the likes of Jan Sakura that some drivers are willing to do that. And usually the drivers do their longest stint of the race as their last stint, simply because they can. The cars are lighter, they have less tyre wear. We'll keep an eye on Tom Stevens here. Up the hill, stays out for another lap. 1.5 seconds will be the gap across the line. This is very much still open for Mark Schluter. These two, remember, still fighting for second in the championship. Even if Schluter was to win with Stevens second, though, Schluter would still not quite catch him. He would need something to happen to Tom Stevens. Stevens definitely has more to lose out of these two. So Schluter, you can't imagine, will hold back much here. Of course,
Matthew Williams on the hards is still starting to lose time to the leaders as the rain continues to fall. So he's lapping the 1:16.5s compared to 16.2, 16.1 for Schluter and Stevens, and 15.6 for Fischer on those fresh inters.
Yeah, I think the track has got slightly slower again as the rains continue to come down. Oh, and side by side, Hygo Poom and Sergio Fletcher here, 8th position. The Akia Hero cars now 7th and 8th, so back to back, although albeit with about 5 seconds between them, 4.5 seconds. And Hygo Poom is ahead of Sergio Fletcher, who's been one of the standout performers of the season so far, one of the most aggressive drivers today. We saw that double overtake that he pulled earlier on, going 3 wide down into turn 1. Mark Schluter is within a second of Tom Stevens now. Yeah, Tyne pits. So Tyne has done the aggressive thing. He's decided to make that pit stop and try to make the time up on the track, as has Adam Maguire. It makes sense. These two are the two who have started to lose time later on in their stints. They want to do shorter stints than the leaders if they can. Out of the pits goes Jarl Tyne. Here's Dylan Fischer. Won't gain a place out of this, but Jarl Tyne and Adam Maguire have lost places to Martin and Panzar. And there's Adam Maguire also exiting the pits on another set of intermediate tyres that will undoubtedly carry him to the end of this race.
Yeah, Fischer pitting a few laps ago created that gap for Maguire and Tyne to pit into. And yeah, Tyne pitting is sort of putting the pressure on Stevens and Schluter here. But of course, look at the rear tyres starting to fade away on Tom Stevens' car. Surely they've got to pit to get to the end here, because if they stay out, they're going to be vulnerable. And Schluter, it's Schluter who pulls the trigger first. So this could be a big undercut moment for him.
Yeah, I think he had to box opposite Stevens there, but we'll see what Stevens ends up doing with this. And of course, where Schluter comes out in relation to Tyne and Maguire, Tyne and Maguire were behind him before the stop by a couple of seconds, but we've seen how effective the undercut tends to be today. And that will be another fresh set of intermediate tyres for Mark Schluter. Out of the pits he goes, releases the button for the pit speed limiter. Here's Tyne, 5th position. Adam Maguire still 6th. He'll still be behind him, I think, on pit exit, judging by where Schluter was. And there he is, coming out just ahead of Robin Panzar. That's very important. So Panzar does come out ahead of Schluter comes out just ahead of Robin Panzar. Will not have to pass him on the track. Sergio Fletcher pits as well. Is Stevens at this point being forced to go the whole way to the end of the race? If he pitted now, he'd come out behind Martin, Schluter, Panzer, potentially even Jarl Tyen at this rate.
Yeah, Tyen was 6/10 quicker than Stevens.
He's got to go to the end, surely.
Well, he's sort of putting himself in that position, isn't he? So he kind of has to just keep these tyres alive, but they're already in pretty bad shape. He's done 20 laps on them, and he's got to do, what, 14 more? It's certainly doable, as we saw Jan Sakura do it, 37 laps, but it's going to be painful.
Yeah, absolutely it will be, and it's certainly not the fastest way to do it on paper, and Schluter has passed Martin because Martin's in the pits. So that wasn't a pass that happened on track, I just saw that on the timing tower and reacted. But Carlos Martin makes that stop later than I thought viable. There's another driver in the pits ahead of him, that's Sakura, who's a lap down.
Yeah, so Maguire should pass Martin, and it does so. Will Fischer be anywhere near that? That's the big question.
Maybe just. It'll be close. And here's Adam Maguire on the tail of Jarl Tyen. That's not Tyen. Oh, 3 wide, look at that! Sakura coming out of the pits, a lap down, nearly into the side of Adam Maguire.
Shepherd. He was just clearing there, so the lap traffic of Chris Shepherd.
Yeah, my apologies. I reacted because I saw them together on the timing tower. Unfortunately, we've just lost Pascal Pollens from this race as well. So 20 cars remaining in this one now, with Pollens the most recent retirement. 15 laps to go in this one. Stevens will surely be forced to go the whole of the rest of the race on this one set of tyres, because if he pits now, he will have it all to do and very limited time in which to do it. Jarl Tyen is on the back of Robin Panzer, and that is indeed the fight that we're watching here. And Panzer pits. Okay, so Tyen through into 3rd place.
Yeah, I think staying out just wouldn't really work for Panzer, because he'd been on 17 laps, so only about 4 less than Stevens. So, but if Panzer thinks he can't get to the end, then it certainly shows that Stevens is really running these inters with the risk of running out of tyres. Then Matthew Williams has pit off the dries finally, as Fletcher has a look up the inside of the RSR of Stepkowski, but is not able to get through into Bico di Pato. And Chris Shepherd was the only driver that was holding out on the dry tyres, and he's decided there's no point carrying on them after that near miss with Adam Maguire. And now Fletcher up the inside of Stepkowski as they go through the final corner up the Subito de boxes.
So, as often happens in GPWC Super League, we're going to have to keep an eye on the gap between the leaders and how it changes as the race goes along, because we could end up with a last lap battle. We saw that in 2021 when it decided the World Championship on the very last lap. One of the all-time classic sim races that I have had the pleasure of commentating alongside Ross McIntyre on that occasion. Carlos Martin here is P6, just on the tail of Dylan Fischer. There'll be a fight there. I don't think Fischer will be able to hold this off, but it depends what Martin does and how he goes for the move.
Look at this, Schluter is taking 2 seconds a lap out of Tom Stevens here, so he's going to catch him within about 8 laps.
2.1 seconds was the advantage that last time around. And it will all be down to if Stevens has any push to pass left, if he has anything left in the tank. Martin around the outside now. He'll have the inside for turn 2 and does get past Dylan Fischer. That was the clean, decisive move that he needed to pull in order to get that P5. And he has made it stick exactly when he needed to. He was always likely to do it, but actually needed to get it done on the track. A good race here from Carlos Martin, who got his first victory in GPWC Super League earlier this year at the Canadian Grand Prix. Here's Tom Stevens, who continues to lose time hand over fist. Mark Schluter is ploughing through the water like a catamaran. Down into turn 1 goes Tom Stevens. You can see the understeer that he's being put through here. The front tyres are crying enough, but they've still got to do 12 laps, 13 laps including the one that he's on. His lap was a 1:19.2. That's 4 seconds slower than his all-time best lap of the race. That is partly due to the conditions, it's mostly due to the tyre wear. And Mark Schluter is in the 1:17s, much quicker at this point in time, 2.2 seconds faster. At this point, he will catch him before the end of the race. But it could still go either way. You do not know what's going to happen. in a situation like this, Ed.
Yeah, and at this point, Stevens will be quite thankful he's got that 19-point buffer on Schluter in the championship, of course, so he can afford to finish a couple of places behind and still secure that runners-up spot and still secure that team's championship as well. But certainly the win, by not pitting, Stevens like I said, he put himself in this position. The other interesting thing that's happened with both the Holland racing cars out, all of a sudden, AKA Hero, who were 23 points behind HRT going into this final race, they would score about 19. Oh, Stevens is in. Stevens is giving up. He knows he's going to get caught, so he's going for the fresh inters.
And surely that is a concession of defeat, because Tom Stevens will not be able to catch Mark Schluter from here. Schluter is just too good on those fresh intermediate tyres. Mark Schluter takes the lead of the race. He's timed it well. He passes the back marker, and he will lead the race by 4 seconds over Jarl Tyen. Where does Stevens come out? He is behind Jarl Tyen now. He'll definitely come out ahead of his teammate Maguire, who was too far back. So Stevens will come out in 3rd position, and his fight to the end will be with Jarl Tyen. What a shame for Stevens, but he dug his own grave.
On the full wets.
The full wet tyres. He had to gamble. He had to do something different, but I'm not sure that will really mean much by the end of this one. And here is Stein Hangraf still fighting with Tomasz Vok, goes around the outside and goes up into 9th position in the same way that Carlos Martin just did on Robin Panther.
We are expecting some fairly heavy rain in these last 10 laps or so. So it could be that Stevens has played this perfectly, but he's got quite a bit of 2 places to make up, and he needs it to get wet very, very quickly rather than does the drizzle that we've seen for most of these races. Handcraft just about clears Thomas Vack for 9th position then. But yeah, Stevens, it was sort of run out of tyres or gamble on the full wets. Those were his only options at this phase, so he had to do that, like you say, Caitlin.
Stevens is under pressure here, but that's a driver who's a lap down, isn't it?
McGorgy, isn't it?
Yeah, that's not Adam Maguire. That's Owen McGorgy there. I don't think it's really going to affect the result.
It wouldn't be Adam Maguire. Maguire's his teammate, so yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm saying it's not Adam Maguire. Plus, he's 8 seconds back, so that wouldn't make sense at all. My brain was just trying to come to terms with what I was seeing there, but, there are drivers off the lead lap in this race. Only the top 15 are still on the lead lap.
Stevens going a little bit quicker than Tyen ahead of him. Interesting in that first sector by 3/10. The Tyen's starting to struggle.
I don't think it's going to be enough to make a difference before the end. We've got 11 laps, including the one that they're on, but lap times here are very short. It's the shortest track on the calendar this year, so I can't imagine that it's going to go back the other way. He's trying, though. Stevens passes Moritz Kropp, who's 3 laps down at this point, having a very dismal day out there, I'm afraid. And Stepkowski pits. Not sure why, with just 10 laps to go. Sure, he pitted only about 5 laps ago, didn't he?
No, he'd been out on the inters for 19 laps, so he was going to run into a similar problem. Tyen is pitting.
Wow. Never mind then. Jarl Tyen pits from 2nd place. Why?
What's he going for?
He didn't pit that long ago, did he? He's going
on the full wet.
Oh. Well, I am shocked about that. I thought he had 2nd place in the bag.
And that's sort of a worst of both worlds. If he stayed out, he might have been able to hold off Stevens. Now he's going to come out in 5th on the full wet, so he's giving himself too much ground. I think he should have stayed out Jarl Tyen.
Yeah, I don't know why that happened. Yes, it is raining heavier now, but surely not heavy enough for full wet tyres. At least not for full wet tyres to be mandatory.
Well, last lap was almost identical between Schluter and Stevens, so if there's a crossover point, we're coming up to it.
So Jarl Tyen rather gives away the podium to Stevens and Maguire. It's both THRs up there, which again would be a fantastic way to wrap up the team's championship, to win it at the last round. Carlos Martin, 4th position, and Robin Panther moves up to 5th. Jarl Tyen, though, right on the back of Robin Panther, should still be able to fight with him. We have under 10 laps to go in this race now. 9 laps, including the one that was just started. And the gap for the lead is now 7 seconds between Schluter and Stevens. We're looking back from Robin Panther's car to Jarl Tyen, who has just made that pit stop.
Stevens was 6/10 faster that previous lap than Mark Schluter ahead of him. Lloyd Moynier, team boss of Edge Esports, says it's all in the little German's hands now.
Yes, indeed. I very much think it is. This would be his 3rd victory of the year if he was to achieve it. Mark Schluter, who said to me at the start of the season that he wanted to win the championship, and here comes Jarl Tyen, goes up into 5th position. There he goes, Jarl Tyen P5, passes Robin Panzer. Fresh tyres proving to be an extreme advantage today. We've seen that all the way through the race.
Yeah, Tom Stevens is making us look very, very silly now because he's starting to eke into that lead of Mark Schluter's then.
I still don't think he's going to have anywhere near enough time to catch Mark Schluter before the end. He'll get relatively close. He'll get within 3 seconds potentially
as well.
That is true, and of course it's mainly lap traffic for Tom Stevens now. Of course, the other thing is, it is still very easy to make a mistake in these conditions, so Schluter cannot afford any mistakes. We can't exactly call this race for Mark Schluter just yet, but it should realistically go his way, especially since Stevens is definitely being held up by this traffic now. It's 2 drivers who are fighting with each other and do not want to get out of the way, but they have to, because blue flags are mandatory in this series.
Ooh.
There
and
we
that's
go.
Vin Glenn. Oh, and he's lost it. That was the final points-paying position, and Sepkowski, by tucking in behind Stevens at turn 4, has dived underneath Glenn and stolen 15th place.
Yep, good driving there from Daniel Stepkowski. Saw it coming and did exactly what he needed to do. Vin Glenn still doing a good job. 16th place on his debut, nothing to be sniffed at. Only 2 of our 6 starting debutants are still running in this race, with those being Vin Glenn and Jan Sakura. And either of them could still score points in this race, depending on what happens, and someone's running wide in the background there.
Well, it wasn't Jeffrey Fournier, was it? Or it might have been Sakura, who we were just talking about.
It might have been indeed. I didn't see it well enough, I'm afraid, to comment on who it actually was. But there we go. Jarl Tyen is now pressuring Carlos Martin as they head up the hill, and has a real chance of it here. Yes, slipstream is not as effective in the wet as it would be in the dry, but you still get a good dose of it even in these conditions. And here he comes, Jarl Tyen, who ducked to the inside earlier on, will do the same thing again. This time there's only 1 position up for grabs rather than 2. They are going at it on the apex though.
Oh.
And powers his way around the outside. Good move from Jarl Tyen to get back through into 4th position with 6 laps remaining in this race. And Martin pulled out of the spray there to see where he was going. He knew he couldn't fight back against Jarl Tyen there. And Tyen does get through into 4th place. And here is Sergio Fletcher fighting with Tomasz Wok for 10th position. Again on the outside. Ooh, bit slidey, but gathers it up, gets the inside line, they touch, and they get away with it. I tell you what, I was just about to say, I'm amazed by how clean the drivers have actually been through those first 2 corners today. Yes, there was a collision involving Grankvist earlier on, and there have been a few wheel-rubbing moments as Fletcher does get 10th place now up the inside of Tomasz Wok. But there have been very few accidents in that 1 corner, and usually it's a little bit of an accident black spot, so I'm very glad to see that it's all gone the way of clean and friendly driving today, despite the attrition that we've seen at other parts of the course.
Yeah, certainly. We've been... The front runners have put on a very, very good clean race then. As we look at Stevens, 6.5 seconds now behind Schluter with just 5 laps to go then. So he's starting to, as you say, Ketlin, to run out of time here. So he needs the rain to track it down and for the Inters to become just absolutely undrivable, which is not happening at the present moment. Even though Jarl Tyen and Stevens are both in the low 119s. I think Tyen is set of 118.3 actually on his first flying lap out of the pits, whereas I'm not sure if I compare that to Stevens. Oh, Stevens set a 118.0 first flying lap out of the pits. So of course, as conditions get worse, the lap times just got slower, even though he is on the right tyres effectively. So another 6/10 out of Schluter the previous lap, but 6/10 is not enough to get into contention for victory here.
5 laps to go now, Ed, and I'm very much going to miss GPWC Super League in 2024. Make sure you keep up to date with the GPWC socials and Discord server during GPWC Day in a week's time, because that is when a bunch of announcements are going to be released, such as the teams who have entered into the 2025 World Championship, as well as the Career Ladder Series. And we're also going to get the announcements such as the calendar for next year and any other announcements that the staff members need to make. It's always worth keeping an eye on GPWC Day. And then, of course, we will know exactly how long we have to wait before the 2025 season. I hope it's not long, because I'm very much looking forward to it. And I always end up missing GPWC over the off-season. Ed, it's been an entertaining season. We've had ups and downs. We've had dramatic collisions, both for race wins and championship deciding implications. We've had penalties. We've had battles. We've had fantastic overtakes. Do you have any highlights from this series? Things you're going to look back on over the years, or have you not been paying attention?
I literally edit the highlights, so I have to pay attention, Caitlin.
But
I was just looking at Martin and Panzer, they're 8/10 apart in the battle for 5th. They both set identical lap times to 3 decimal places, 1:20.476 the previous lap, but from both Martin and Panzer. So try as he might, Carlos cannot escape then. So Tyne flew past him on the full wets, and now he's got to pull out all the stops to end on a high in 5th place for TOP and hold off Robin Panzer in that Adonis, of course. And of course, with Edge really relying completely on Mark Schluter, it could be the difference between 4th and 5th in the championship if Panzer gets through here or not, with Fletcher also looking to finish in the top 10.
So just 4 laps to go, including the one that they're on, and 5 seconds separate Schluter and Stevens. Stevens would need a mistake to go the way of Mark Schluter for it to swap places. These two have a little bit of history as well, of course. They came together in Singapore. Their team managers have been quite vocal about some of the things that have happened over the course of the year. We've had Toby Davis in the interview room a couple of times telling us exactly what he thinks of the incidents that have taken place. And of course, Stevens and Schluter have had their own words said amongst each other. But at the end of the day, the racing has been hard but fair for the majority of the season. It's been really something to admire. And of course, you have to give your take your hat off to Jan Grankvist as well, who has been there or thereabouts. Consistency has absolutely been key. And with the exception of today and Canada, where he failed to score points, he has been pretty much faultless. Robin Panzer still has a chance of snagging a top 5 before the season comes to an end. He will be 5th place in the standings at the end of this by the look of it, and could well snatch a place away from Carlos Martin, and might actually have a chance down towards Tessida de Largo, but then again, you normally need DRS in order to pull that off. He pokes out of the spray, out of the slipstream, possibly just trying to unsettle Carlos Martin, but also trying to see where he's going. And now up the hill towards Ferradura. Another yellow flag, and I think, did Jeffrey Fournier just lose a place? Unless I'm very much mistaken.
He did, I think.
Well, we're going to see a replay straight away. Quick camera work from Remco de Zeeuw, who has actually driven for Epic Racing Team in the past. And Jeffrey Fournier has a quick spin. There he goes. And another good save, actually. Didn't even go off the track, technically. Didn't go over the white lines. And still continuing in the points-paying positions. 15th place would give him 1 point to show for himself at the end of this one. 2 laps to go.
You asked me for highlights earlier, Caitlin. Speaking of Carlos Martin, his drive in Montreal, where he went from the very back, well, not the very back, but sort of 5th or 6th on the grid to win with some brilliant moves, some excellent pace. That was a fantastic first win in Super League for him, and well deserved. And the rest of the season, of course, didn't quite go Carlos's way or TOP's way, to be honest. But him and McGorgy, excellent lineup, so much talent there, and it was Carlos was so emotional, wasn't he, to win that one, and so that's certainly going to stick in the memory. But Mark Schluter, as he was about to start the final lap here, He's had some brilliant drives this season. He's really built on. He had that amazing debut, didn't he, at Spain last year for Green Stripes, where he finished second to Stevens. And he's going to end this season going one better than Stevens by beating him here at Interlagos, as long as he can just keep it on the black stuff as it continues to be drenched in water. And Fletcher there just keeping Stein-Handgraf at bay then. And
he just passed Stein-Handgraf down towards turn 1, so that's 9th place for Sergio Fletcher as Mark Schluter starts the final lap of the race with a 5-second lead. And I tell you what, this will be his highlight of the season, I'm sure. And yes, he would have wanted to claim second in the championship. He wanted to win the championship, as I was saying. He DNF'd from the first 2 races of the year, and he messaged me saying, I don't know if I can continue in this series. I wanted to win the championship, and I don't think I can now. But he has really picked it up since then. And I think that he has been one of the standout drivers of the season. One of the breakthroughs of the season as well. Here's a replay of something. Owen McGorgy for TOP Esports, who's easily had the most up and down season of everyone, even though he's missed most of the season. Quick spin, carries on. Should see the checkered flag, but let's go back to our race leader because he has just got a few corners to go now before the end of this one. Mark Schluter only has left-handers to go now as he climbs the hill. He's got a little bit of traffic, but it shouldn't affect him. He has got this in the bag now. Puts the power down, accelerates up the hill, and this will be his 3rd victory of the season. Mark Schluter out of the final corner and will win the race for Edge Esports. Fantastic stuff. And he will be delighted with that one. 2nd place and 2nd in the championship will be Tom Stevens, and that confirms THR as the team's champion of 2024. A fantastic season all around from THR, and a wonderful double podium to wrap it off with Stevens 2nd and Maguire 3rd. Yartayan is 4th place for Nocturne. 5th place will be Carlos Martin. And I agree with you, Ed. I think one of my highlights of the year is hearing how emotional Carlos Martin was after that victory in Montreal. He was absolutely fantastic on that day. Robin Pansar is P6, so was not able to pass Martin in the end and actually dropped back. So I wonder if something happened there. Dylan Fisher was P7. Great drive from the AKA Hero guys with Poom in 8th place. Then Fletcher took 9th place on the penultimate lap, and Handgraf was in P10. Congratulations to THR Racing, and commiserations to Super Venturi. Even though you get the picture, they had rather conceded their fate before this race had started. And there is that formation finish for THR as they celebrate their team's championship, their first team's championship. They burst onto the scene last season with some fantastic results straight away. They said they weren't going to be able to challenge for it, and then they kept it alive right until the end. And this year they have done it. They have won the team's championship in terrific style, and they very much deserve that, Ed Hunter.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I should correct myself. They actually did win the team's championship last year. This is their second team's championship in a row. Back-to-back victories for THR.
Yeah, literally the only thing is they didn't win the driver's title this season, which was the thing that they were really, really desperate to get with Tom Stevens. But luckily, Adam Maguire and Tom Stevens were a terrific duo once again, and were able to really always pick up the points when they were left on the table. Very, very rarely did you see Stevens especially get into trouble this season. That they had a little bit of a rocky start. First couple of races was him and Schluter both had a tricky first couple of races, but once they got going and started, the wins started piling up, and Grankvist left a couple on the table here and there, and they were there to take advantage. And they had some absolutely magnificent. And Stevens' pole lap was great today. Schluter's win was absolutely magnificent as well, like against the odds, effectively against that brilliant move on Tyne, brilliant strategically outfox Stevens as well. But Stevens' second was more than enough for that team's title, and THR are certainly going to be at least satisfied with that, because that was what they were expecting going in.
So while we're waiting for the interviews to get started, Ed, let's take a look at the finishing order. Mark Schluter, of course, won the race But Tom Stevens and Adam Maguire will take the headlines, wrapping up THR's second Teams Championship in a row from just 2 seasons in GPVWC Super League. Yartayan in 4th position, could have been a championship contender had he done the full year. Carlos Martin in 5th position. Then Robin Panzer, Dylan Fisher and Hugo Poom. Sergio Fletcher, the rookie, P9. Stein Handgraf, P10. Good performance from him, only his 2nd top 10 finish. Tomasz Vok, P11, then Matthew Williams, P12, Jukka-Pekka Lalu, P13, the only points for Super Venturi today. He's had a very tough season. Daniel Stepkovsky, P14, and then Jeffrey Fournier paying the last points-paying finish to Epic Racing Team. He will get 1 point for his efforts. No points, unfortunately, for any of the debutants today. Vin Glenn and Jan Sakura just missing out, but congratulations to them for getting to the end of this one. Chris Shepard, P18, then Owen McGorgy, P19. Apparently he had a technical issue in the final corner of the race, which kind of sums up the end of his season. And Moritz Kropp finished in P20. We only had 20 cars finishing the race. And then you have a whole host of retirements there, both HRTs, both Stacks, both Pescaras, both Virtual Drivers by TX3s, as well as Pushkate. And of course, importantly, Jan Grankvist, our world champion, failed to get to the end of the race as well. So, Ed, I think I'll leave the interviews up to you because you seem to enjoy them a bit more than I do. But before that, I would like to say thank you so much to everyone who's been involved in the season this year, all of the staff, everyone who's watched along in the YouTube chat. GPWC never fails to impress, and I'm very much looking forward to being back again next year and seeing what ends up happening in the 2025 GPWC Super League Championship, because my goodness, we go from strength to strength every single year.
Very well said, Caitlin. And so, without further ado, let's transition to the interview room and hear what our drivers and teams have to say. And first of all, I think it's probably only fitting that we bring in our new teams champion, or retained teams champions, THR Sim Racing, of course. So let's see if we can get Mr. Tom Stevens, Mr. Adam Maguire, if he's around, I guess, and Mr. Chris Butcher as well. So we are now joined by Tom Stevens, Adam Maguire, and team principal Chris Butcher, of course, of THR Sim Racing, who, just like last year, I've dragged them in to congratulate them on being teams champions in Super League for the 2nd year running. So shall we start with you, Tom? Brilliant pole position in the pouring rain. A lot of that race seemed to really be going your way. And then it came down to that final call, wasn't it? Where it seemed Mark Schluter basically outfoxed you by going for the fresh set of inters first. So you either gambled on the full wets or you stayed out and you were going to get caught either way then. So I guess it was sort of between a rock and a hard place. Either way, the team's title was yours in the end because Jan, of course, didn't make it to the end of the race. So there wasn't really a big challenge from Super Venturi, but tough conditions, tough race. You must be feeling somewhat relieved to come home with that PT.
Yeah, overall, I'm extremely happy, and we've come home with the team's championship, which was the goal today, and couldn't really ask for anything more. Everything went according to plan, and well, in the race itself, the pace was very good. Qualifying, everything just clicked, and then the start of the race, everything was going all good. Maintained a little bit of a gap, but I could see the guys behind were gradually catching, and in the last stint, unfortunately, our gamble didn't quite pay off, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. Honestly, this season, couldn't have done it without everyone. Chris, Adam, Jarl, Toby, Moritz, everyone. Really big thanks to all of them. I wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for those guys. And yeah, I'm really grateful, and I stand by them today. Even though we didn't quite get the win, we still came home as a team with the Teams Championship and with, I think, a double podium. So yeah, I'm really happy with that.
So 3 wins this season, Tom, and a very clear 2nd in the championship once again. What do you think you have to do to win that driver's title? Do you think you just need Jan and Jake Dennehan to not be there? Or do you think there's just a couple of different things that needed to go your way?
I'd absolutely love it if Jake and Jan were both on the grid next year. I think, well, maybe, yeah, well, last season and this season, they've definitely beaten me. But this season, I feel in the second half especially, us as a team, THR and Nocturne, we've found a little bit of form, and I think we can use that going into next season. So maybe next season would be a different story, even if Jan and Jake are on the grid. I'm confident.
Oh, that's brilliant to hear. So, and once again, THR going for 3 titles in a row, which I don't think has been done in a long, long while in Super League. It's very difficult to win 2 in a row. 3 in a row is pretty much unheard of. But if anybody can do it, it's certainly you guys, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, we have a really strong team, and I think we'll be building on that next season. I'm really looking forward to it.
Right, well, thank you very much, and well done on the Teams Championship, Tom. Let's shift over and talk to Mr. Adam Maguire, who, of course, rounded out the podium today. Adam, a bit of an up and down season for you, but you take your 5th third place of the season, and I believe your 7th podium of the season, and more importantly, you get those extra crucial points that doubly make sure THR secure that 2nd championship in a row. So, obviously, you joined the team for this season, one in Singapore as well, in memorable circumstances, to say the least. But obviously, not quite in the Drivers' Championship hunt, but you certainly did more than your part in terms of getting your fair share of the points haul for THR. So you must be equally proud of what the team's done this season.
Yeah, no, I'm very proud of the team. Everyone involved. It's been probably one of the funnest seasons I've ever had. Even though I've not been very competitive, yeah, I can walk away from this championship and say I truly enjoyed it. Yeah, as Tom was saying, our form has definitely peaked since the summer break, and yeah, no, I've just been enjoying it. So maybe, hopefully, next season I can be a bit more competitive. I don't know if it's the car or maybe I'm just getting a bit old. I don't know. So yeah, that's still enjoyable. I mean, I know I troll a lot online and stuff, but it's all jokes. Like it's all fun, and yeah, I wouldn't change a thing. So hopefully next season I could maybe go for a better, a bit of a higher pace in the championship, but we'll see.
I say you could have fooled me because you were pitting early for Inter, setting the fastest laps of the race. Near the end there, you did just about enough to keep Jarl at bay as well. Were you surprised when Jarl went in along with Tom for the full wets, or was the plan always for you to go contra to those two?
I think it was expected to rain heavier, so Jarl was definitely going for a bit of a bold strategy. So all I could do was stay out because I knew everyone else behind me weren't going to pit either. So the only thing I could do was stay out, and it worked out. I don't think I should have finished third with my competitiveness today wasn't great, so I can probably walk away happy from today finishing third. But yeah, no, Jarl. I mean, another 2 laps would have got me. So yeah.
Well, anyway, I was just looking at. I'm laughing because I was just looking on the GPV website for your results this season. I've clicked in your name, Adam Maguire, and the headline, the name it says is Am Meyer. So there's a lot of letters missing in your name there on your page on the GPV website, Adam. So apologies for that. But I was going to say congratulations on 4th in the championship. And well done all your efforts this season because THR really needed your help at certain points this season, and you and Tom were a fantastic duo.
Yeah, cheers, Edward. Thanks very much.
And final words, appropriate enough, should go to Chris Butcher. Like I said, Chris, it's a similar situation to 2023, isn't it? Doing more than enough to seal another dramatic decider that goes THR's way in Interlagos. 4 very good wins from all your drivers this season, or well, both of your drivers this season. But of course, the Drivers' Championship, that little bit out of reach. But nonetheless, to win 2 teams titles in a row, you must feel very proud of the way the team handled itself this season.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a great team effort from everybody to get there, and entered Super League last year, didn't dream really of winning the title, and we did it in our first year in Super League, and then to go and win 2 on the trot is just brilliant, and everybody's worked really hard for it. Adam and Tom, Toby, Moritz, Jarl joined us halfway through the year as well. And it's just paid off all the effort that everybody's put in. So I think the guys thoroughly deserve it. The driver's title still eludes us a little bit, but I'm more than confident that Adam and Tom are both good enough for it. We had a bit of a slow start this season. We didn't quite have the car in the right place, but since Monza we've been really, really competitive, and I think we've shown that we can take it to Jan. So I absolutely think that one of these two can definitely win the driver's title, and hopefully we can get 3 in a row, which I think, if I've got this right, I think will be the first time a team did it in the online era. But we've got to do that first. But
We're going
very
back a
nice
while.
we are going back a while. But it would be very
First
nice
time
to,
since 2010, guys. 2010 was the last time.
Well, there you go. Yeah, so it'd be really nice to do something like that. But the competition again is going to be fierce next year. Just want to say well done to Jan again. Obviously, I know he wrapped the title up before, but thoroughly deserved the driver's title this year. He's been in a class of his own for most of the season. His last to first challenge didn't quite work for him today, but props to him for giving that a go. But yeah, been a really thoroughly enjoyable season. We've enjoyed the racing this year, and thanks to you guys for putting on a good show with the broadcast as well, and GPVWC as a whole, and our competitors as well for making it a fun place to race.
Oh, thanks, Chris. And Caitlin, by the way, very correctly points out that Nordgen Racing were the last team to do it by winning 3 consecutive titles in 2008, 2009, and most recently in 2010. So certainly THR etching their names, your name, into the history books. You are still here. I should talk about you later in the room, but
and the reason that I butt in quickly is because I also want to say congratulations, THR. Congrats, Chris. Congrats, Tom, and congrats, Adam, and of course everyone else involved in your squad. I have to say, Chris, you have such a well-drilled organization. I've never really seen a team take Super League as seriously as you guys do. But I mean, the proof is in the pudding. It's doing the job. You're winning championships, and straight away as well. Not even a build-up period. So congratulations, and I think you guys are awesome.
Oh, well, appreciate that. Thank you. We've been around for a long time. Me and Toby especially, and not quite in GPV. Obviously, we in terms of Super League anyway. We've obviously only been here 2 years, but in the career ladder as a whole, only 4. But we've been around sim racing for a long time, and it's a big part of our lives, and we really enjoy it. And of course, we take it seriously because we want to have we want to do well, but we want to have fun at the same time doing it. And I think we've got a really good group of like-minded individuals that that feel the same way and get sort of get enjoyment out of putting all that effort in, and it's not all about the results, but obviously that kind of helps. I kind of always say, I've said this quite a lot, that the day it feels like a job is the day to stop, and it doesn't, because we all have fun doing it. So that's the main thing for us. But yeah, I can't really say anymore. We've got a fantastic bunch of guys. Everybody enjoys working together. We all have fun. That's the main thing at the end of the day.
Well, very, very well put, Chris. And I would say you definitely have to remember these days and how they feel, because no team's dominance is going to last forever. But you guys certainly have hasn't felt like dominance. You've had to fight every single step of the way, and you've not only put on a fantastic show, you put in some superb performances all around from the entire team. So congratulations to THR, and thank you very much, Chris, Adam, and Tom, for coming to talk to us after your second Teams Championship in a row.
Thank you very much.
So as we finally allow THR to leave the box, let's talk to the race winner, because he's probably been waiting very, very patiently to talk to us. So let's drag Mr. Mark Schluter from Edge Esports into the commentary box. So we're joined now. Sorry for keeping you waiting, Mark, but we are now joined by our race winner, Mark Schluter, after his 3rd victory of the season, and in very, very dramatic circumstances as well, Mark. So an up and down race, you start just in the top 4, if I'm not mistaken, behind Jarl, behind Adam Maguire, behind Tom Stevens. You not only put on fantastic move on Jarl, you and Adam Maguire as well, for that matter, but you outfoxed Tom Stevens on the strategy in the final stint. You were able to pit for Inters before he did, and then you were able to hold him off despite the rain lashing down at the end. And some drivers like Tom Stevens and Jarl taking risks on the full wet then. So I know last time we spoke, you were very, very disappointed. Does this cheer you up just a little bit, Mark?
Yeah, because I didn't really expect to win after that, in my opinion, horrible qualifying. I think the other guys were running higher wings than me. Maybe it was better for qualifying, but in the race I was much more comfortable. And yeah, just I think a good way to end the season.
Why do you think that is? Do you think because whenever it rains, you always seem to be in the mix in that top group, don't you? You always seem to be fairly confident in the rain compared to some of the other drivers in Super League. Do you think it's just that it suits you a little bit better, or do you think it's a combination of Interlagos as well as one of your better tracks too?
Well, I think that was maybe a combination of the setup plus I like the inter conditions, the full wet conditions not so much, but the wet conditions we had were pretty much like all the time crossover between inters and wets. So it's not really was not really a full wet condition or extreme wet condition, I could say. But yeah, I think the setup and the car just suited the track this time, and I think my driving style maybe suited the rain today.
It certainly did. What did Loic say to you after you crossed? Because he was saying in the YouTube chat, "It's all in that little German's hands now." Is his exact rough quote from Loic? Was he happy to see you after the race? I assume he was.
Yeah, I think he was, but he didn't say it out loud. But yeah, I think as a team we grew over the season, and yeah, I just hoping we can go for the next step in the next season. I think we might have a bit of an advantage because we stopped upgrading earlier than the teams around us. But we have to see what the cars for next year are gonna be like, and yeah, I guess as I said, it's a very, very good way to end the season like this.
Yeah, you certainly made a huge impression on us in commentary and everyone watching too. Do you have any final words to say, Mark, as we wrap up the season? And it's been a very, very good season for you, finishing 3rd in the standings, although I'm sure you'll be looking to go even better next year in 2025.
Yeah, of course. Next year, I think the goal has to be going for at least the Drivers' Championship, if not for both championships. And we know it's gonna be hard because we have THR against us. They're an incredible team, both strong drivers, and yeah, we have to see. But I will be looking forward to that in the next season.
Absolutely, and we'll be looking forward to seeing more of you too, Mark. So congratulations on a fantastic win to add to the 2 that you had already in Imola and at the Red Bull Ring early in the season. And I'm sure this is not the last time we're going to see you on the top step of the podium. Congratulations, Mark Schluter, and congratulations, Edge Esports.
Thank you.
So, with the race winner taken care of, shall we talk to the Nocturne team? Because all 3, both drivers and team boss, seem to be waiting very, very patiently to talk to us. So, let's give them a little bit of an airing.
Results.
Oh,
hello, sorry.
We're joined now by the Nocturne team. I thought we'd get all 3 crossed off quickly, just so they're not all waiting. That is, of course, Jarl, who finished 4th on the road, and Moritz Kropp, who finished 20th, and Toby Davis, team boss of Nocturne, of course. Nocturne, I think, in the team's championship, did they? Yeah, I think they finished 6th in the end. So all in all, a pretty decent recovery considering where Nocturne was at the very, very start of the season. An interesting day for you guys, wasn't it? So let's start with Jarl. P3 on the grid. An early great move on Adam Maguire. it seemed in that first stint you were really the first couple of stints you were really strong, giving a bit of trouble actually to Tom Stevens after the first switch to full wet tires. But as it shifted into territory, it sort of started going away from you and into the hands of Mark Schluter, didn't it? And then, of course, you made the gamble on the end for the full wets and couldn't quite catch Adam Maguire for the final stop on the podium. So I guess a little bit of as much as it was a really good performance, a slightly frustrating way to end the season, Jarl.
Well, yeah, you basically touched on everything.
I know. It's like I was watching the race.
No. It was a fun race. So for me, it wasn't so important to win or get a podium. It was more important for them to do so. And by them, I mean THR. So I wasn't so stressed. For me, it was just about staying on track and being a nuisance to other people, essentially. But yeah, it was obviously a goal to do well as well. But again, it wasn't that important. But yeah, definitely the clue today was to keep the tires alive for the entire stint, because if you push too hard, you definitely kill them off. In the first stint, I definitely saved the tires a lot better, and I was being held up by Adam. He eventually let me by, and I built a decent gap, and I was catching Tom, but not as much as I thought I would. But then, yeah, like you said, pitting on inters, it really the issue was I pitted at the right time, I feel like, but the problem was I pitted at the same time as Mort, so I lost 2 seconds, and then I was behind Mark, and so I used a lot of tire and I used a little bit of boost, and that definitely slowed Mark's progress towards Tom. I think if I didn't do that, then Mark definitely would have been much more of a contender early on in the race, which would have been even more of a struggle.
Oh, don't tell him that, because he doesn't know.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, no, overall it was fun, and glad to get a good finish.
Yeah, we certainly enjoyed having you from mid-season onwards, Jarl. You've been a real dynamite factor in multiple different ways, but you've certainly provided a lot of entertainment. Yeah, this was. Yes, I'm trying to praise you. Yes, they're saying you always bring the action, and your defense against Mark was certainly entertaining to watch. Were you surprised, by the way, when Schluter pit and came out ahead of you, even though he pit on the same lap up behind you?
No, I saw the time was gonna take 6 seconds, and normally it's like 3.5 to 4 seconds. So I already knew I was fucked.
Apologies for the language, ladies and gents, but don't worry, it is 11 past 10 in the UK, so we are past the watershed. So
don't worry, guys. I can't see Mohammed bin Saleh anywhere nearby, so you're fine.
Oh, can I do it again?
Feel free.
No, I won't. I'm sorry.
Use an even worse word and describe me as it.
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh no. We don't want to
we'll move on.
Commentators. Anyway, but I guess reflecting on the half season as a whole, Jarl, let's see, that's 4 podiums, a win in Monza for the second year in a row. Do you fancy doing the full season next year, or do you think it's just going to be as and when, because of your work getting in the way on certain Thursdays?
Yeah, right now it's unclear. My how do I say? I want to do it. I want to do the whole season, and I want to do a big push for the championship next year. But if it's teams or drivers, I don't really care. But as long as we win something, I'm going for it. But again, it completely depends on the work schedule and whatever else goes around. I might do other series as well. Other, I've done a bit of a break from iRacing this year, and I wouldn't mind going back to it, but kind of depends on which series and what sort of prize pool that series might have. So this one, without prize pool, this is by far the most fun car and league there is to have. So the fun factor here is definitely here for me in Super League.
Wow, that's brilliant to hear. So, and best of luck in all your other championships as well, Jarl, because I've commentated and done the highlights for a couple of other series that you've competed in and done rather well in, like FSR, for instance. So yeah, best of luck wherever your path takes you in sim racing.
Thank you so much.
Moving on to Moritz now. Unfortunately, not quite as happier story in terms of the result. Bit of a mess early on, it must be said, with the collision with Matthew Williams. Of course, fighting away with Dylan Fisher, you brake just that little bit too late on the outside, and before you knew what was happening, suddenly Matthew Williams was around and no doubt shaking his fist rather angrily at you. So it didn't look intentional. We know it wasn't intentional, Moritz, but that seemed to sort of define your race because you were sort of playing catch up from there on, weren't you? In the end, making 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stops, I believe, because you did pit for the full wets at the end, like Jarl, didn't you? So down in 20th in the end, I think 3 laps down. A bit of a tough one, Moritz, to end the season.
Yeah, well, I think it's how it's been all season. I've just been like struggling with the brakes a lot, and obviously when it's raining, it's just a lot worse. Because there's less grip, obviously. And yeah, I don't know. I just broke too late and hit him, and yeah, I was feeling really sorry because yeah, it was kind of unnecessary, and I was just like, all right, well, let's just keep going. And then at some point, I had like a half spin in like the penultimate corner, I think, and then someone came from behind and just hit me, and I lost the wheel and had to repair it because I thought we could still get some points from there.
Oh yeah, the Luca Filin collision. I completely forgot about that. Destroying
yeah,
Luca
yeah.
Filin in Biscara ADG's final race.
Yeah. Oh dear. I'm sorry. No, but I had a half spin and he just came and hit me, and then I lost my.
It was
wheel,
certainly
had to
unfortunate
repair
without
it.
wanting to cast aspersions either way.
Yeah, and then from then on, I just tried different things. I tried getting the fastest lap. Yeah, I was just pitting a lot earlier than the other guys, and yeah, overall just like avoiding traffic and holding up people that are quicker than me, because I was literally like what 3-4 laps down. So yeah, I don't know, just a difficult race.
Yeah, in difficult conditions too. So well done for still making it to the end, which not everybody did, and certainly looking at the season as a whole, Moritz, you certainly put in some great drives here and there. You didn't always get the results you deserved. I think back to races like Singapore where you got disconnected while running quite high up as well, and so the luck wasn't always on your side. But certainly a bit stronger than last year, where you end up having to go back to FS1, impressing me greatly there, and then coming back to Super League. So you really earned your comeback. I hope to see more of you in the future, Moritz. So thanks for all your efforts this season.
Well, I'm actually going to step down.
Oh, okay. I take it back. Well, it was good to have you nonetheless.
A few races ago, I just decided to, take a bit break. I probably won't do any next year. And yeah, because I just moved houses. I moved out of my parents' house, and now I'm living in Stuttgart, which is like 3 hours away. And I'm studying, and there's all kinds of things going on, and I can't really practice. So the last couple of rounds, I tried putting in good performances, which didn't really show, unfortunately. I hit a couple of front wings in qualifying in Baku, then I got the disconnect in Singapore. Obviously, the race today was absolute rubbish, but
well, anyway, I think I'm going to have to wrap you up very quickly there, Moritz, but thank you very much for talking to us. And I know, difficult race today, but thanks for getting to the end and and telling us all about it and being quite honest as well.
Thank you.
Very quickly, Toby Davis, team principal of
Hello.
Nocturne. You chaotic race and interesting season overall. Nocturne finished P6. Obviously, you would have been hoping for a little bit better, but considering where you guys started this season, having to change both drivers as well, it could have. Well, no, only one driver. Sorry, it was Fidok for eventually Jarl Tyne, wasn't it? So
yeah, thanks, Ed. We had a lot of driver issues this season for multiple reasons. Trying to fill the second seat was very difficult, and then when Jarl came in, he was an absolute godsend and really did lift the whole group. So THR as well. I'm fairly confident that if Jarl doesn't find a paid esports seat in an iRacing team, then he'll be here next season with us in GPVWC. So that's one side of the garage ticked off. Of course, it's a huge loss losing Moritz, not just as a driver, we know he's fast from back in the day in Formula Sprint 1 when him and Tom dominated the championship. But as a person as well, to have around the team, he's such a friendly guy, and he's definitely my friend. So it's going to be sad not to have him in the car next season, but nevertheless, he still will be a part of the team in the background, if you like. And whenever we do like team meetups, we try to do a couple. I'm sure he'll come along. But yes, I will miss Moritz a lot from his driving point of view. He's a very fast guy and just didn't go his way this season. From a team perspective, this will be also the last time, and this is an announcement, the last time that you see the name Nocturne. We are going to rebrand the team over the winter. And that is an exciting thing for me to announce, actually. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that a lot. So keep your eyes peeled on that one.
Is it going to be changed to daytime or something like that?
No, Nocturne is a vestige of when Tom Ely was a part of the team, contributing to setups and so on. And it's we're going to move on from that and change the branding, change the team name. It's going to be an exciting time. And then the second seat. I'm awaiting confirmation, but I'm pretty confident we will have a very exciting. Sorry, my cat's just decided to jump. Did you hear that, then?
The cat's trying to tell you to
launched herself off the desk and fell over. The second seat. I've been talking to a former Superlights champion, who I believe would be a very strong addition to the team. I will not name names, but those who know will know. If he does commit, then our lineup is looking very good. I'm fairly confident we'll have Tom in one seat in THR. I think Adam wants to go away and think about what he wants to do next year overall. But I think he'll probably come back to us next season. We'll see. There's no pressure on anyone, though, to be honest with you, Ed. It is what it is. But overall, I've had a lot of fun. I think overall the racing's been good in Super League, and I've enjoyed 2024 as a whole in all the bits that I do. So I hope everyone's enjoyed my commentary as well.
It's certainly been interesting, and it's certainly entertained us, that's for sure.
Yeah,
and great to hear that you had a very, very so much news, so much to process there. So lots of exciting time for the team up until now known as Nocturne.
Yes, thank you. I'll reveal more once I've got it all together.
At a later date. Okay.
Yeah.
But thank you very much once again to Jarl Tyan, Moritz Kropp, and Toby Davis for joining us after the final race of the season here at Interlagos.
Can I say one last thing? Massive congratulations to Jan on his Drivers' Championship. He's been a great competitor all season, so have Super Venturi. And well done to Mark for winning this race. We've had some ups and downs with Mark. Mark and Jarl, of course, have had their contretemps, but hopefully we'll put all that behind us for next season and start afresh, because I hate grudges personally, and I've got nothing against Mark as a driver personally. So,
that's really good to hear, because I know he'll appreciate hearing that. So thank you very much, and we'll let you guys go. And I think I was going to drag Carlos Martin in next, but he's just gone live and is trying to show things to people. So I think the guy who get the last word should be the man that Toby just talked about, our new world champion, Jan Grankvist. So let's let him have the final say. So, Jan, obviously joining us now. I wish it was after a better final race of the season for you in terms of the end result. But you didn't half make things difficult for yourself, as you said you were going to do. I guess Teams Championship a little bit out the window. It was a long shot anyway, but 30th, you got to, I think, about, was it 13th or 14th as a high, and then that free wide moment at turn 2 sort of spelt curtains for you. And from then on, it was throw the biggest dice possible and hope it landed on 6. And unfortunately, it kept landing on 1s, and you kept going down the snakes rather than up the ladders, to use a board game analogy.
Yeah, I think you pretty much summed up my race in that one. don't know what to add to that.
So
Did a nice
brilliant
Kimmy
move, man.
impression.
Oh yeah, we saw
Well,
that on stream when you were on the hard tires and decided to go and hit a Marshall. Apparently.
oh yeah, that was my bad. Hope his leg is okay. Yeah, I
Okay, you're
think
the world
the 3
champion, so
wide.
he'll forgive you. If it was
Oh
any
right,
other
yeah,
season, you'd be crucified.
fair. Yeah, the 3 wide moment. I think most of us, at least in the well, I guess we call it the cool down room, the interview waiting room, agree that well, Owen and I really couldn't do much there. It's not really our fault. Chris, I mean, it's easy to say in hindsight, but yeah, I mean, he did outbrake himself. He tapped Owen, which also slowed down Owen's speed through the corner, which then made it so that we ended up side by side with Owen. And well, Chris tried to still capitalize on that opportunity, went into the middle of us. And I mean, if you're trying to sandwich yourself in between 2 cars taking the center S's, it's not really a wise decision. So
It reminded me eerily of what happened last year, wasn't it? You, Jake, and Adam.
Oh yeah, that
3
one.
wide in the dry, of course. So it ended slightly better for you on that occasion, but
Yeah, it's pretty similar actually, but well, different in the sense that that time I think I should have been maybe the one backing out. I was trying to overtake them around the outside last year, but this time it was, well, Chris was further behind, and I mean, it is what it is. It did piss me off at the moment, but you know,
racing. The FIA president's not here to hear that. But anyway, but Jan, you've grown so much since then as a driver, taking 5 wins this year. I erroneously said 6 wins. I seem to add an extra win somewhere. But I'm sure you wouldn't have minded that.
Oh,
but
yeah.
obviously, despite today, everything going against you and a little bit, but like you say, with the last to first, you kind of like you didn't make it as easy for yourself as perhaps you could have potentially if you'd wanted to. But you've really had an amazing season. Everyone's, including us, have been full of praise for the job you've done this year. And I think there's a feeling that you really deserved it as well. After a lot of years where things didn't go your way, you finally had that dream season where nobody could really take it away from you. Basically, here in Canada were the only races that you finished outside the top 6. So that's incredible consistency from you, Jan. Obviously, Teams Championship was a little bit of a long shot, and we knew that going in. But in terms of the drivers, it's difficult to see where you could have done that much better. There was very little that you left on the table this season.
Yeah, I'm satisfied with how this season's gone. I mean, the last few races, unfortunately, after sealing the title, I didn't really have a race where I felt I was that satisfied with the result. So the winning the championship never really sunk in any of those points. But you know, I mean, it'll only get better from now on, especially when I'll get my hands on the trophy at GPV Day. So looking forward to that.
Yes, and you certainly should. I've done my best to help it sink in by constantly reminding you that you're the world champion, by sending you a video montage that I made of all your best moments in the season that Vincent wants me to edit more before we air it on the actual channel. But anyway, enough.
Thank you for working on that.
This is me turning your world championship into being about me, which I shouldn't be doing. But anyway,
that's all right.
Anyway, I have to say, having commentated on you for a while, Jan, I'm so happy that you finally got that dream season, and you absolutely deserve to be there in Poland lifting that trophy at GPV Day. Sadly, I think it's a bit out of my way. I think my passport's about to expire next month anyway, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to go or not. And also, the fact that I can't drive is a big issue. But but if not for that, I would. I would congratulate you. But I should make a video congratulating you that will hopefully be played on screen. But we'll have to see. But anyway, final thoughts on you and the Super Venturi team. Of course, you know, really came of age. That's the first title for Super Venturi in GPV since would it be since? Oh no, you didn't win the Super Lights title with them, did you? I think that was.
I did win the Super Lights. 2022
No, it was, yeah.
when we entered as a
That was it, yeah.
full-fledged team in GPV. So
It's been a long 2 years, is what I'm saying.
yeah.
Anyway, but I think we're lost for words at this point, Jan.
Yeah. I don't know. It was a good season for us. It's been enjoyable working with everyone involved, especially again the Adonis group have been there to support us as well, and vice versa. So I'd like to extend my thanks to them as well, Menno as well. So yeah.
I'm sure Menno, Robin, Sergio, and maybe Janos Braxok, if he's watching this, will appreciate hearing that. So very, very gracious.
Janos.
Very, very gracious of our new Super League world champion, who's certainly going to get to enjoy it in a relaxing off season before everyone's going to be gunning for you, Jan. They've all got a big target on your back for next season, so they all seem very keen. But I'm sure you are going to have once again pull out some amazing performances that wow us like you did this season. So thank you very much, Jan, for talking to us, and congratulations on a thoroughly deserved championship. Which
thank you.
I definitely think it's not going to be the last one we see you take. I would put money on that. So, as our new world champion is finally given a rest, unfortunately, we are out of time. So, those who wanted to be interviewed, I think Carlos definitely was very keen. Sergio, I think, was kind of keen as well. Mo McGorgy is still hanging around for the second race around. I'm going to have to leave Owen. Caitlin, I think we did the best I could to get for as many as possible. But there we go. But it's great to see so many so keen to share their races with us. And of course, Mark Schluter coming out on top in the race, but THR crucially getting that pretty historic achievement of getting back-to-back titles. It's very rare you see people getting 2 titles, let alone back-to-back. And like you say, they're going to go in for 3 in a row, and they're going to be going for Jan Grankvist too.
I think we may have just set a record for the longest interview segment in history. That was over 40 minutes there. But it's great to see that people are so keen to talk to us after that. And thank you very much to everyone we just interviewed. I'd also like to say thank you, Ed, for doing that. And also thank you for joining me today. And also thank you to Ryan Elliott. I know Ryan couldn't be here today, but Ryan's been an awesome partner to me all year long. And I very much hope that I get to commentate with him again, because the last few rounds, he unfortunately has not been able to make it. But yeah, Ryan, if you're listening to this, I very much hope that you enjoyed this race nonetheless. And also thank you to Remco de Zeeuw for being our streamer today, for streaming all of the sights and sounds and the stream that you're actually watching. So that's the lot. That's it from GPVWC Super League 2024. We will, of course, have the Super League Young Drivers Test on the 12th. I believe that will be streamed live. I don't know who's going to be streaming it. I can tell you it won't be me, because I'm actually going to be driving in that. For, I think, the 5th time. I'm not exactly a young driver anymore, but I'm pretending. Anyway, thank you very much. Thank you very much to everyone who has helped out with the broadcast, with the series, and with anything related to that all throughout the year. And I cannot wait to see you in 2025. Goodbye.
Bye.